officially completed its $14.9 billion acquisition of U.S. Steel. The deal includes $11 billion in U.S. investments over the next 3 years. It also offers protection in keeping the company's headquarters in Pittsburgh along with its American leadership. Alabama's Fairfield plant is set to receive up to $500 million for upgrades, which is all part of a broader effort to support over 100,000 jobs nationwide. President Trump recently touted the deal as a boost to Alabama's steel industry. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Did you know that 70% of people experience a potentially traumatic event in their lifetime, and that 6 out of every 100 adults face PTSD every day? Help us bring hope to these survivors by signing up for your Alabama Distinctive PTSD Awareness license plate today. The great thing is you can sign up no matter when your current plate renews, and the first year is complimentary. All you need is your VIN number on hand. Drive awareness, drive hope, and customize your plate today at atease.org.
A Prichard police officer has been placed on administrative leave for the method in which he helped a woman get away from a domestic violence situation with her husband. The officer, Tavon Campbell, used a baseball bat to break a vehicle window and to free the woman from that vehicle. DeVorce Malone had forced his wife into the car in order to evade police. The police officer also used the baseball bat to subdue Malone after the wife was pulled out of the vehicle. The incident was caught on cell phone by bystanders. An internal investigation is now underway. Baseball bats are not an approved defense weapon for law enforcement. Former Dale County Sheriff Wally Olsen has died at the age of 53. Olsen served as sheriff in Dale County for 16 years and decided to not run for re-election back in 2022 in order to spend more time with his family. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/radio. That's leaffilter.com/radio.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program. Actually, a lovely day here in Montgomery, Alabama, though it's going to get hot and humid, steamy. All the descriptions you might have come to love living here in sweet home Alabama. Of course, you know, the whole Israel-Iran thing continues. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. I mean, I'm sure Trump will figure it out. At this point, after all the wailing and gnashing of teeth, all the debates, I watched the full Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson conversation/debate. I actually walked away disliking both men and liking both men, as any good conversation should reveal. It should reveal the flaws as well as the great attributes of anybody in a rough and tumble conversation. I love all the folks online who are like, he stood up for what I already believe, so of course he's right. It's like, well, maybe we just listen through and through to what he's saying. of course, we also have stories about how ChatGPT is making certain people legitimately crazy, including a story of one man who trained his chatbot to flirt with him with a sexy lady voice, and now he wants to marry that chatbot. By the way, he lives with a woman he calls his partner, and he has a child with her. So, there's a lot to get to today. I might even get into how the WNBA, I hate the WNBA. My grandfather always tricks me, and we'll get into how he tricks me later too. But if they keep on fighting, I might be down to watch some more with Gramps. That said, we got some stories to cover here locally, and Erica Thomas, editor-at-large at 1819 News, is joining me now. Hey, Erica, how you doing today?
Hey, Joey, I'm doing great. But after listening to your teasers there, like, you see, these national stories are so huge right now and such a big deal. I feel like my little local stories aren't as important. But I did listen to that Tucker Carlson interview with Ted Cruz, and wow, that was explosive. Yeah. And at times I was kind of like you, like, whose side am I on right now? Kind of both at different times, and then against both at different times. It was very back and forth.
Yeah, they both can lay on thick the disdain and condescension. Tucker's gets a little catty at times, and Cruz gets a little elitist at times. And, well, I don't know. I think, honestly, having these conversations in public is a very good thing. But, just because you're covering, say, Dale County or Prichard or, all these other stories doesn't mean they're not important. Size and necessarily scope doesn't necessarily mean importance, because it's certainly important to a lot of these folks. And you've got a couple stories trending there at 1819news.com right now. One is very tragic. If you could give me the details, I'll read the headline here. Dale County Sheriff who helped rescue boy from bunker hostage situation dies suddenly.
Yes, so a lot of people probably remember that tragic situation back in 2013, where the little kid was snatched off a school bus from a crazy man, by a crazy man. And do you remember that case?
Not greatly, not in great detail.
Okay, if you don't remember it, maybe other people don't. Well, it made national news. This kid, who was only 5 years old, he had autism. He was riding the bus home one day, and this man stopped the bus, and he had a gun. And the guy that did it, he was a Vietnam veteran. He was very angry at the government, very mad about how things were being handled in 2013. And he knew the bus driver. He was longtime friends with him. But that day, that completely changed, because he took the child. He wanted to take a boy and a girl, but he ended up only taking a boy because that bus driver would not let him take any more children. And he actually was shot multiple times. The bus driver was shot multiple times trying to protect those children. He was known as a hero after that. But the man did get the 5-year-old child, and he took him down underground to this bunker that he had been building for quite some time. I mean, it had beds in it. It was ready to go for a long-term stay. What police didn't know is that there was also IEDs in the bunker, and they had a PVC pipe that was allowing them to breathe, and he even had a bomb in that PVC pipe. And that's how police were communicating with him. So they were going down and talking to him through this pipe that had explosive devices in them. So very scary after they found that out. Eventually, the child was rescued, and the sheriff at the time in Dale County, Wally Olsen, he played a huge part in that rescue. He was part of the negotiations. He went on television, which he knew the crazy man was watching from under the bunker, and he said, "Thank you so much to you for taking care of our child." And it seemed strange at the time that the sheriff would thank a kidnapper who took a child into a bunker just to prove a point and to be heard. But the reason he did that, he said afterwards, is this is a tactic we use. We wanted to connect with him and let him know, like, this is our child, but we thank you for taking care of him. So it was a big part that he had in that rescue, and unfortunately, Olsen passed away just this week on Wednesday at 52 years old.
And it's unexpected and due to a heart condition.
Yes, they didn't say exactly what the heart condition was. It sounds like he suddenly had a heart attack and passed away. And he was just so beloved in the community. People are coming out all over and talking about the difference that he made in their lives. He was one of those that would go to churches and speak to people about, how he used his faith to get over and get through some really tough times in his job. He did retire in 2023, but he didn't stop working, of course, typical man. You're not going to stop working. He took a job at Fort Rucker. That's where he was working at the time of his death.
Well, and you have another story trending there that's also about untimely death. In fact, this is a freak accident at U.S. Steel here in Birmingham.
Oh, yeah, that was really, really sad, really crazy how this happened. I mean, it was a freak accident at U.S. Steel. A rail car hit another rail car, and one of the men in the rail car passed away. He's been identified as Michael Dwayne Townsend, 39, of Bessemer. I think he spent a lot of time in the McCalla area. We have a lot of mutual friends. We're around the same age. A lot of people also started coming out on Facebook talking about how great this man was. So I looked into that. He was a father of 4. And not only that, but his wife just passed away 10 months ago after a long illness. So this is very tragic here in Alabama to have these 4 children that have lost both of their parents in less than a year. They're young parents, These are young children. Jennifer Townsend was 35 years old. She passed away in Princeton in the ICU on July 31st. And then Michael was 39, and that's where he was also pronounced dead at Princeton. So, just a very short amount of time, these children have been through so much. And they said that the death of Michael Townsend is being investigated by U.S. Steel and OSHA and even the NTSB. So hopefully we'll get some answers on this. Also, on Facebook, after I posted the story, a lot of people are saying, this isn't the first incident at U.S. Steel that's led to an injury or death. So somebody needs to look into this. I don't have any information on that yet, but I think it is important to look into that, and I'm sure the NTSB will surely do that.
Now, and you have another story that caught my attention. I think like it was picked up by 1819 News, news that goes out to all our radio stations by Andrea. Prichard officer placed on leave after hitting domestic violence suspect with bat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
But was that? I mean, did he stop the guy from doing something? Can police officers not use a bat?
Well, apparently it's not an approved weapon. And there does need to be some context here. This officer rescued a woman from a domestic violence situation. And I feel like he just had to use whatever was nearby, whatever he had to do that, because the suspect in the case was had a violent history. He was acting violent. That's why the police were called in the first place. Someone called police to the home on a domestic violence situation, and so police respond. As soon as the suspect, DeVoris Malone, notices, he forces his wife into the car while he's hitting her in the chest, makes her drive, leading police on his case. They finally get stopped in this field. Looks like they wrecked a little. But she's still being held against her will in the vehicle. And so the police officer comes up, and this, I will give more context. The suspect is a black man,
Mhm.
and the police officer with the baseball bat is a black man.
Okay.
There are other officers around, but this isn't a case of white officer abuses black suspect. Let's just make that clear. I think this man was just trying to do what he could to get the woman out, and it's all on video. This lady was taking a video of the incident, and you can see the wife escaping under the bat, as this officer is hitting the suspect. I mean, it's very intense. It's like something you'd see in a movie. But I'm sure as it reads, what actually happened is even more terrifying for this wife, who thankfully was able to escape that situation. But yeah, the police officer is still going to be placed on administrative leave, and he has to be under investigation. And I did talk to Mobile County Sheriff Paul Burks about this, because this happened in Mobile County, and a lot of the major crimes, the Mobile County Sheriff's Office has been asked to take over major crimes. Well, they're not taking over this one yet. They hadn't been asked to, but Burks said while the video looks bad, he said there's a lot that goes into this. Domestic violence calls are the most dangerous that police go to every day. When you have a domestic violence suspect, you have to be extremely cautious, because you never know what's going to happen. A lot of those cases are the ones where you see police being shot too. So you got to be careful with that. But also, while this officer has been placed on administrative leave and they're looking into this, he said you just have to do that. As a law enforcement agency, you just simply have to do that anytime there's a question about anyone's action. So he said he doesn't foresee this fella his job being terminated, but it maybe not even discipline. It just really depends on where did the bat come from, why do you use it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's my main question. Where did the bat come from? If they're not even around a home, they stopped the car in a field. I wonder where the bat came from.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to follow this case and see if they will release any information from the ongoing internal investigation.
And this is after Governor Ivey, I guess, saying the Metro Area Crime Suppression Unit stands ready if needed in Prichard. And this is because there are many other acts of gang-related violence in the area, and that they might want to bring in the state and the county and bring forces together and actually lock down this place a little bit.
Yeah, and it was really a coincidence that these two stories happened at the same time. I'm not in Prichard every day, but I did want to look into the situation in Prichard with crime, because the police department obviously does not have the resources it needs to keep the people safe. And that's why the Mobile County Sheriff came in and he was like, look, y'all got a gang problem. Y'all got a shooting problem. We're going to fix some of this. We got to help you. So in December, the Sheriff's Office took over those major crimes. Those include, stuff like shootings, stolen vehicles, things like that. So they're taking over those, and there really hasn't been a lot of pushback. There's actually been a lot of thank you so much for coming in and helping, because the people that have lived in Prichard a long time, they just don't want to see their city go down like that. But now, if the state came in, that might be a different story. That might feel like an overreach to a lot of people. However, Governor Kayabi's office said there's not currently any plans to take over Prichard or anything like that. But,
Right.
If the local officials would like to collaborate with them, they now have that ability. And that's thanks to the MAX unit. It was formed in 2024. And this past year, some funding was secured to make that a little stronger, a little better. And you can see what they've done in Montgomery. Just almost 1,000 arrest warrants have been served, and lots of firearms and those Glock switches have been taken off the streets thanks to this unit. So I think it could really be a positive thing, as long as they do collaborate with the local officials. They want to make sure that they do that. for now. So we'll see what happens.
Seems to have worked here in Montgomery, and I think any city or town here in the state that needs that help and that, say, slight reorganization where we can concentrate forces, it makes a heck of a lot of ideas, especially if it's, a voluntary request and not just a takeover by state police. No, I got to hit a break here, but I want to talk about this upcoming 2025 Albert Patterson Gala. And, I was there last year. You were there last year. You were wearing a beautiful, sparkly dress. I remember it. And it's a great time. And we had Coach Tuberville being honored last year, as well as others, with the keynote speaker being Eric Metaxas. And this year, the big keynote speaker, the headliner, folks, for the 2025 Albert Patterson Gala for 1819 is Tucker Carlson. So what a time to announce him. And that should be people should rush to get their tickets, I'd imagine.
It is a really huge deal, and you can order tickets or you can buy a whole table. We have on the website on 1819news.com. You can look up the very top of the website. There's a link for that. I think this is going to be like one of the biggest events we've seen. I know it's the biggest event we've seen at 1819 News since we began. But anytime you come to an event with 1819 News, you're going to learn something about Alabama you didn't know, and two, you're going to be inspired to fight for our rights and dare defend our rights, as we say. But with Tucker Carlson coming in, especially in this heated time in our culture, in our politics, I think it is going to be very interesting for anyone to hear what he has to say. And as you know, he's been in Alabama a good bit. He mentions Alabama often. I think he just did like 2 nights ago. He mentioned Birmingham, Alabama, and even in the interview with Ted Cruz, he mentioned Birmingham. So it'll be really, really. We're just very blessed to have him to come for this evening in courage. And if you've read his book, he's been somebody that has had courage. It almost comes natural to him his entire life. So it'll be really, really just great to hear him at this gala coming up in November.
Well, folks, y'all just go to 1819news.com to check that out. The event is in November at the Barber Motorsports Museum and Event Center. A beautiful spot if y'all have never been, especially people that love cars, and what an amazing facility. So I hope folks check that out, see if they can get in early. Limited supply of tickets, so y'all go check it out right now. And I appreciate your time as always, Erica.
Thank you so much. God bless.
God bless. Again, that's Erica Thomas with 1819 News. She's the editor-at-large there at 1819 News. Tragic stories, but, tragedy doesn't just happen in the Middle East, or it happens in our own backyards all across this state. And I appreciate Erica's reporting on all that. We got to hit a break here. We'll reset things. First, this part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And they're at Pest Pro. Ashley and that fantastic team are ready to help you out with any and all of your pest control needs. They do this monthly subscription model now. It's a really, I think, sound way of going about it, because they get on a regular schedule with you. And that means basic pest control protection, also annual inspection for termites, year-round protection from termites. And we are already in the middle of mosquito season. So if you actually want to enjoy your backyard, the front porch, enjoy a conversation, solve all the world's problems, maybe after dinner, getting the family together, you don't want grandma being eaten up by these nasty mosquitoes. And you shouldn't be spraying her anyway. The stuff you spray, it doesn't work. The candles, they don't work. What works is calling up Pest Pro, getting them to come out and treat your yard directly. And it's not like they just show up once. When they show up once, they're getting ready to show up another time and another time, another time. I think it's 8 times a year they show up to make sure during peak mosquito season you can actually enjoy your property. So y'all check them out today. You can always learn more at ppsriverregion.com, or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. Very active Facebook page there. You can learn a lot on their Facebook page. And, of course, you can always call them direct at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley and that fantastic team that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is David Ernest from the Health and Wealth Show. We like to cut up and have fun, maybe poke a little fun at some politicians. but we don't take ourselves too seriously. One thing we do take seriously is your personal finances and your plans for retirement. You can tell by listening, we're a little different. Yeah, we like to have a good time on the radio, but we're dead serious about your financial future and helping you achieve your goals. At Ernest Financial, we're committed to giving you the attention you need. We don't treat you like a number. You're way more important to us. At Ernest Financial, it's about helping you today and preparing you for tomorrow. People call us who are on the verge of retirement, and they know they need a plan for the future. No matter where you are in life, Ernest Financial will help guide your every step towards retirement. Give us a call and let us show you what our individual customer attention can do for your future.
Concerned about your retirement? Call David Ernest toll-free at 833-596-7233. That's 833-596-SAFE.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group with your Real Estate Minute. Recently, I met with 3 different owners of homes who had the same problem. They wanted to sell their house quick and sell it as is for cash. All 3 people were approached by different investors that said they had cash for their home, signed contracts, only to find out they were not personally going to buy their homes, but to find a buyer willing to pay more than they offered and pocket the difference. It's called wholesaling. Offer a contract to buy a house at a certain price, up to price to other buyers, and pocket the difference. I urge you, don't fall for it. You want to sell your home quick, use a licensed professional realtor, as I have been for 48 years, keeping promises to get homes sold quick. For all the details, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group at 221-2883 or 551-0225. Call Bo Goodson at 221-2883.
Progressive knows road trips without your pet can be tough.
Hi, this is Next Stop Dog Boarding.
Hi, it's Scott again. How's Squeaks doing? You can tell if he's stressed by his eyebrows. Oh, and his breathing should sound like this.
Scott, Squeaks is exactly the same as last time you called.
Okay, let's talk in 20 to see if anything's changed.
With Progressive, your pet is covered up to $1,000 in vet bills in case of a car accident. So next time, you can take your pet with you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Coverage for dogs and cats is included with the purchase of collision coverage and subject to policy terms.
Level up your summer projects with 4th of July savings on top brand cordless power tools from the Home Depot. Whether you're working on a fence, a planter box, or a new workbench, get the power and runtime you need with the Ryobi One Plus 18-volt 2 toolkit from the Home Depot for only $99, was $139. Get 4th of July savings on the cordless power you need to make summer projects easier than ever. Right now at the Home Depot.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that is bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Before we get into the latest with Israel, Iran, what the president might do, as Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, gives the first White House press briefing since this whole conflagration started up. Right now, she is touting the security at the border. It is astounding. Like, nobody crossed into the United States that we know of. But that's an amazing number considering what? The last year, when Biden's president, it was something like 62,000 people being brought into the United States. Zero, a big goose egg this time around, as well as a lot of people self-deporting, as we'll get into later with Peter St. Onge. You mentioned that yesterday, but I want to underline the point. Kind of amazing when you look at the labor rolls, how many foreign-born workers have disappeared off the labor rolls while native-born Americans are entering the market, and real wage growth for blue-collar workers continues to go up. So we can get into all that, as well as the breakdown from the different camps looking at this big decision the president has to make. Of course, we have, say, your foreign policy wonks and hawks up there. Great clip from a guy at the Hudson Institute saying, here's what might happen if Trump and the United States military really enters the fray, what might happen in terms of China and the effects of, say, the Strait of Hormuz being shut down. What would China do if a big part of their oil is now stopped or at least slowed down to a great degree? What might Pakistan do? But one guy's saying, no, Turkey might end up being a huge winner if Iran is broken into pieces. Of course, you also have the Rand Paul camp in so many ways. Rand Paul saying like a good non-interventionist, or what some call an isolationist. Yeah. But what he's saying is think through the unintended consequences. I have no doubt that the United States military, especially with the Israelis and the work they've already done, could knock down and drive out this regime in a few weeks. But then what happens next? That is always the question. It seems like really easy to do. It seems really easy to break something. And in fact, that is always a good rule of thumb. It is much easier to destroy something than to build something. Yet, my mind at the beginning of the show here is on a sort of destruction, a destruction of human beings. Not in war, not in violent crime here on our streets in Montgomery or elsewhere in this great state or around the nation. I'm thinking about the destruction, women on women violence in the WNBA. Now, here's the deal. I, for a long time, have not been on a jihad with the WNBA. I have nothing against people watching it or people playing in the WNBA. But I don't want to watch it. And I'm not actively boycotting it. I'm just not interested. And it's on my mind because my grandfather continually tricks me into watching the WNBA. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. I love the man. I love him dearly. But he always seems to find a way. As soon as I'm comfortable in the living room, on the couch, in the chair, whatever, you know, that moment where you just sink in, you're like, oh, I'm going to be here for a second. As soon as I'm already sunk in, and we're watching some podcast, or we're watching, what he recorded part of the interruption at 4:30, catching up on that, American Ninja Warriors on. I'm like, great, I'll watch all of these with you. We recently rewatched all the Mission Impossible movies. We're watching movies, we're watching shows. Well, I'll watch all sorts of things. But then as I'm settled in, as I'm sunk in, he will say, hey, Joe, could just flip it over to the game. I want to see what Caitlin Clark is doing. And I'm not going to tell him no. I'm not going to tell him change it yourself. Of course, I'm going to be a gentleman, a good grandson. And I flip it over, and there I am with no interest watching the WNBA. But recently, I might find a reason to want to watch the WNBA. I don't care about the basketball. It is a very different game than, say, the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals ongoing. It's, you could say, a slower game, not as good of a game, that the men in this regard are superior in terms of athletic prowess. But it does change the game back to one of more schemes, passing and shooting. But there's something I've noticed, and it keeps happening in the WNBA. And I'm sure y'all have seen it if you are any sports fans whatsoever. This recent Caitlin Clark on the outside
Watch
of the
when
team.
Caitlin Clark is trying to create some
Whoa,
space. It looked
right
like she
in the
just got
face.
hit in the eye there.
And they're going at it and push to the
Marina
ground.
Mabry. I missed that one, Edona.
Wow. Now that is rough. And then there was a reprisal by one of Clark's teammates on the other end as somebody was putting a shoulder down to go up for a layup. The blonde chick just pulled her down, throws her to the floor. I'm like, now I could get used to this. You know how in like lower league hockey leagues, they have guaranteed fight nights? If the WNBA goes into guaranteed fight nights, I might very well tune in. I never thought I would enjoy this because, you know, UFC's out there. Women compete against one another and fight, punch each other in the face. Women's boxing's been a thing for a long time, but that has rules. I don't want rules. I want no holds barred. And there's women's wrestling, but again, that's fake and scripted. I want no holds bar, heat of the moment, heat of the passion of the game overflowing, and these ladies are just wailing on each other. That's entertainment. It's not the basketball. If you're going to watch basketball, you should probably watch the men. Unless, you know, you're daughter or a friend or somebody plays in the league or whatever. But if they go to like ladies beating each other up, I'm all for it. Others are suggesting they should lean into like being ladies, being sexy ladies, like don't wear such baggy clothing stuff. I think that's just inappropriate, number one. And number two, it's a little misogynistic. But wanting women to like in the heat of the moment, no rules, just the passion overflowing. Somebody's throwing an elbow, somebody's gouging an eye out, somebody's just kicking somebody in the solar plexus. I don't even know where that is, but I like it. I think this could get me watching the WNBA. That way, I won't even have to be tricked by my grandfather. I can just say, hey, you want to watch the Fever game? Not because Caitlin Clark is dropping bombs from 40 feet away, but because, well, the violence is real. I want to see, just like it happened in downtown Montgomery recently, somebody snatching the hair off somebody's head. That's what I want if you're going to have me watch the WNBA. Said, I know that was a very important issue. I just wanted to get it off my chest because I'm tired of being tricked. I'm tired of watching crappy women's basketball. These beastly, gangly, oh, God. Anyway, I got to hit a quick break. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. And there at Montgomery Men's Health, they can help you fellas out if, well, you're not feeling like yourself. Now, there could be all sorts of reasons you're not feeling like yourself. But if you have a certain confluence of conditions, of symptoms, like you're not sleeping well, your sleep pattern is shot, you lay your head down on the pillow, you wake up 8 hours later, you thought you were asleep, but you're still exhausted. And as you go throughout the day, you could easily take a nap. You have a mental fog. Your body just doesn't feel right, like you're trudging through mud. You're seeing unwanted weight gain, loss of muscle mass, even a decrease in sex drive, and your wife's smoking. She's fireworks on the 4th, and you're never in the mood. What's wrong with me? You should be wondering that. And so if all this is happening at once, no matter your age, could be in your 20s, 30s, but especially in your 40s and 50s, men naturally stop producing as much testosterone. Why not get by Montgomery Men's Health? And the providers there will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation. It's really just quality of life questions like getting to know, do you have these symptoms? It's a really quick blood draw. And once they come back with that testosterone score, if you do in fact have low T, they have treatments there that can truly change men's lives, including treatments that will make you feel better the very same day. Doesn't take any time at all. After treatment, men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym, brother, better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, and you usually even notice an increased libido. And you can actually book the same day that you call. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. For many years, my team and I have worked diligently to provide our veterans with top-notch service, as it is our honor to serve those who have served us in the armed forces. Madeline and I are certified veteran lending specialists. Nationwide, there are over 22 million veterans that qualify to purchase a home through the VA loan program. Yet less than 2 million of them currently have a VA home loan. Many lenders do not keep up with the ever-changing guidelines and benefits of the VA loan program. They are intimidated by the program, resulting in many veterans not obtaining VA loans. This is unacceptable. The VA program offers service members and veterans with 100% financing. You've already paid your down payment. If you are currently serving or have honorably discharged, we would love an opportunity to discuss how the VA program can serve you. Give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223 or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time. Thank you for your service. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome to Eclectic Coins, Montgomery's largest coin dealer, specializing in buying and selling investment-grade gold and silver coins. And they have a large selection of rare coins and coins from around the world. Visit them at 543 Northeastern Boulevard or on the web at eclecticcoins.com. Eclectic Coins, where collectors who know go. Rich Thomas Weather, brought to you by Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing.
Hey, this is Robbie Clark. Stay cool with a spring tune-up with Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Don't wait. Schedule today. Give us a call at 334-277-2125. Alabama certification number 09098.
Rich Thomas weather.
Hi, everybody. Another hot and humid forecast with a high today, 90 to 92, I would say. And that'll be fuel for the fire for a complex of storms that'll be moving into central Alabama this afternoon and into South Alabama early this evening. Some of the storms could be strong, possibly severe, with damaging wind gusts possible. Today's high up to about 92. Tonight's low in the low to mid 70s. Then for tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, as suns, hotter days with highs in the low to mid 90s. There will be fewer storms. They will be widely scattered, and the heat index will be close to the 105 danger range over the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More is your low price leader for everything you need for flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies. For the best prices on luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, flooring installation supplies, and more, shop Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Delray to Publix.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1, WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Welcome back. How about let's jump into this live press conference. First press conference since the whole Israeli-Iranian war got going. And this is Caroline Levitt there at the White House Press Corps. We're a little behind live, but wanted to jump in, get a sense of what's going on there and what the White House is saying officially for the time being.
Well, certainly the entire world is on the president's side when it comes to the fact that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. This is something that pretty much all of humanity, except for the Iranian terrorist regime themselves, agree upon. And so the president expects that Europe will deliver that message directly to the Iranians.
Why does President Trump believe that this 90-day extension on TikTok will provide more runway, perhaps, than the previous extensions that haven't led to that?
Because it's more time to make a good deal.
I just love how we go from mayhem, havoc, hospitals being hit, people being killed, civilian areas being bombed. The United States might jump in. What could this mean? Is it potentially World War III? But we have time to talk about TikTok. And who's going to own TikTok? That is the news that the president just signed another 90-day extension. Let's keep going.
Simple question. Dasha?
Thank you so much. I know things are going day by day right now. The president wants maximum optionality. Is the possibility of the U.S. getting involved in regime change in Iran at all on the table at this point? And
Sure. The president's top priority right now is ensuring that Iran cannot obtain a nuclear weapon and providing peace and stability in the Middle East.
On Medicaid, Caroline, you said that put forward Medicaid provisions, particularly a lower cap on state provider taxes that hospitals have said would lead to mass closures, particularly in rural communities. Is the president willing to sign a bill that includes those provisions that Republican senators like Josh Hawley say will lead to hospital closures?
Out of respect for the ongoing discussions that the White House is very much actively involved in with our friends in the United States Senate, I won't comment on that specific provision. Look, the bill hasn't been sent to the president's desk yet. There's more room for change. The president, for one, I will reiterate, has been very clear on his priorities with respect to Medicaid. He wants to see waste, fraud, and abuse ridden from the system to protect it for tax-paying citizens who deserve those much-needed benefits. He wants to prioritize the sick, the needy, the poor in this country who deserve those benefits, not the 1.4 million illegal aliens who are receiving them. And he wants to make sure this one big, beautiful bill kicks those illegal aliens off of this program to preserve it and protect it and strengthen it for the American people. And the president has been very clear in that message to his friends in the Senate. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Sure. Logistically, if the Iranians are getting to Geneva, does that mean they've found a way to get to the White House?
I am not going to get into hypotheticals, but as you heard from the president yesterday, they have expressed interest in doing so.
Philip. Pressure on the president to come to the aid of Israel. There's a lot of pressure on him to finish the job with force. How is he balancing the concern that if he doesn't choose to do that, that it would send a message to Xi Jinping about the U.S. commitment to Taiwan?
Well, the president enjoys a very respectful and cordial relationship with China's president. He has long maintained that, even in his first term. And China and the United States share many strategic interests, both in terms of economics and also, of course, global affairs and foreign policy as well. However, when it comes to balancing these different viewpoints, the president is balancing a lot of viewpoints, and he is listening not just to other world leaders, but to his advisors and to people here in the country and the American people too. And I think that's what makes this president such a great leader, is his ability to listen and make a good decision on behalf of the American public based on his instincts and his experience.
Yeah, and one possible outcome of all this could be fascinating is Trump does close a deal. Essentially a deal they can't refuse, but like they finally cry uncle. And you see this big moment of no nuke for Iran, but we're not having to do the full-on regime change stuff. And there are folks I would clearly put in the neoconservative camp, or just the hawk camp, in particular the loudmouth blowhard camp. And I think I know a little something like that, having been in talk radio for nearly a decade and a half now. In particular, Mark Levin's about to blow a gasket. No more meetings. We can't have any more meetings. This is a war between good and evil. Just calm down, dude. What is it with all these guys that worked in the Reagan administration who didn't learn from Reagan's own foreign policy? The strength part often means you don't have to use it. You just have to be strong and flex. Instead of yapping like a seal on talk radio. No, we must go in right now. Good God, that's more annoying than the Tucker Carlson laugh. At least Tucker has a slight bit of charm. Anyway, let's keep going with the press pressing for a secretary, Caroline Leavitt, on this issue.
Forget, this is a president who was here before, and the world was a much more peaceful and stable place when he left office than when he came back in after the past 4 years of complete incompetence by the previous president. Philip, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Two quick questions. When the president says Iran is very close to a nuclear weapon, is he relying on U.S. intelligence or intelligence sharing from an ally to make that assessment?
It is a fact, and the United States government maintains this fact, that Iran has never been closer to obtaining a nuclear weapon.
And then if the U.S. were to take some type of military action, would the president go to Congress to seek war authority?
Good
I'm
question.
not going to engage in hypotheticals. I gave you the statement from the president. He'll make a decision within 2 weeks.
So the answer is no and no. That first answer was very carefully crafted little word game. Iran has never been closer. Well, what does that mean exactly? Weeks away? Year away? Is it just the enriched uranium? Like, what are we talking about here? And she didn't really answer the question. And will the president actually seek authorization from the Congress to go to war? Not to sound like Mark Levin, but what about the U.S. Constitution? Is that just a hypothetical suggestion box now? Like Congress is just one big suggestion box? Especially in matters of dropping bombs on foreign countries? I'm not trying to pick on Caroline. I like Caroline Leavitt, but again, we're all waiting and wondering what the president will decide.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline.
Mary and then Elizabeth.
Two questions, one on Iran and then the second on something Jasmine Crockett said this morning. So given that we know the Iranian government did order an operative to assassinate the president, is there concern that Iran might respond with non-traditional military ways to some kind of strike on Iran, such as another assassination attempt? And has the Department of Justice looked into this last attempt on the president's life?
I believe Secret Service and the FBI have looked into the 2 assassination attempts that took place against the president, both of which were sad days in our nation's history. So I would defer you to the Department of Justice on where those investigations stand. But as for your question regarding Iranian retaliation, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals again, but I can assure the American public and the world that this administration is prepared and ready to defend American interests and assets, not just in the region, but here on our homeland as well.
Thank you. And then really quick on Jasmine Crockett, she said, I believe, that Trump supporters are mentally ill before calling for bipartisan support against the president. Can you respond to that, especially considering she's a rising star in the Democrat Party right now?
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and middle America, as we all know, from where you all grew up outside of this beltway. That's who makes up this president's movement. And Jasmine Crockett should go to a Trump rally sometime and she can see it for herself.
Yeah, we'll get to Jasmine Crockett. We have the clip she sat down with. I can't believe the woman's still around. Katie Couric. My godfather actually went on a date or two with Katie Couric. Not much to report there. It's not like they got together or anything, but stank, don't it? 272-9228. Again, that's 334-272-9228. We'll get into more of the detailed back and forth about Israel, Iran, as well as stories about how people are losing their ever-loving minds when it comes to using these AI chatbots, these large language models. And I just have to say, some of y'all are just weak. I fell in love with a disembodied voice. Weak? It's that phrase Dave Chappelle used all those years ago. Brittle spirits. If a robot that isn't even real can charm your pants off, you're weak. But it's more than just, people falling in love with the robot. There's all sorts of odd crap going on. People acting in unhinged manners. We'll get into that a little bit later. First, this part of the program brought to you by James Cole and Cole Plumbing. And they're at Cole Plumbing. Well, they can help you with any and all of your plumbing needs. That could be everyday issues like low water pressure. Maybe you're constantly hearing the drip, drip, drip of a faucet. Leaky faucet that's worse than a large language model driving you crazy. A leaky faucet has caused many a psychotic breakdown. Could be you need a new garbage disposal. Maybe you need a new toilet, a taller one, a nicer one as you get up there in age and those knees and hips aren't working as well. Could be you want to upgrade to a tankless water heater system. Or it could be you have a massive leak. It's not just a little drip, drip, drip. It's a big old leak inside the home, outside the home. Cole Plumbing understands time is of the essence, and they have the technology to get in there and solve the problem without creating a big mess in the process. They can get in there without having to tear out a bunch of drywall, without having to dig up a huge hole in your yard to find the leak, fix it. They really are just that good at Cole Plumbing. Y'all check them out today. You can always make an appointment and learn more online at coleplumbing.com or just save their number, 279-8919. That's 279-8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole. Let's go to the phones. Line 1, you're on there. Who's this?
This is Jean.
Hey, Jean, how are you?
I'm fine. How's Miss Lucy doing?
She's doing wonderful. When my grandfather called her, she was singing Baba Black Sheep in the background.
Was she?
Yeah, and I'm taking 3 days off, July 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, to drive up to Nashville to go visit them. So I'm looking forward to it.
You be careful.
Oh, I appreciate it, Jean. Thank you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you too. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. Looking forward to that little petite vacation. Because honestly, I'm starting to feel a little burned out. Especially in this wishing and waiting and wondering period we're all in. What might come next from the White House? I would love, and I would not because it would make Mark Levin and other people's heads explode, but if Trump did somehow manage to do this diplomatically, it would be remarkable. So we're going to wait. We're going to wait. I'm trying not to say the thing I've been saying over and over again. We're just going to wait. We're going to watch. We're going to wonder. And eventually we'll witness what he'll decide in the fullness of time. Again, that's 272-9228 if you want to get in on the program. That's 334-272-9228. I've got to hit a quick break here, but you know what? I'm going to sneak in another call. Who cares about the clock and all these breaks? You're on there. Who's us?
Hey, my man.
Hey, Robert. How are you?
Hey, man. I'm emotional about the Israel-Iran and stuff.
Do you think the beer helps?
It's that too.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to call, and this is what I want to say about the thing, though, is I've known Iran, I mean, they can throw out 500,000 people jumping up and down saying death to America, and they've done that since the 80s.
Yeah. Since 79. Yeah.
Right. And so there's just no doubt in my mind a nuclear bomb in their capacity is just a horrific thought. You see what I'm saying?
No, of course.
And I would tell China, and I'd tell Russia, and we all got the bombs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be stupid? In other words, anybody sends something to here, tenfold back. Well, and that's if we just want to keep the globe going on.
Oh yeah,
and
I think
leaders.
Mutually assured destruction is still very much in place. Looks like the Russians are already distancing themselves from the Iranians. I just don't want this to become some huge thing that spills out and becomes unpredictable. I wouldn't question the abilities of the Israelis, or certainly not the United States military. It's more what happens, the unintended consequences that happen in the long run that could drag everybody into a big problem. But I mean, the points you're making about how awful this regime is correct, and that awful regime having a nuke is also a very bad thing. It's just a matter of how you do it, and why did this break out just now? And that's where we're waiting on the president.
Now, Joey, I just want to say, I agree with you. The same side of that same coin is if you don't do nothing, what happens?
Sure.
If you don't do nothing, is there a nuke? If you don't do nothing, is it World War III because you didn't demolish the nuke? It's hard decisions up there.
Well, and like, for instance, let me give you a hypothetical. Instead of the president authorizing a strike, he could, using all the assets that have been moved to the region, set up a refueling corridor over Iraqi skies. That way, the Israelis with their F-35s could attack even more than they already are. You would have tanker refueling in real time, so where you would have wave after wave. So it could be he just helps the Israelis flex without directly dropping bombs ourselves. Apparently, there are questions the president has about, will the bunker busters actually bust those bunkers? He wants something that will actually be decisive and work. So I appreciate the call, Robert. I'll be getting into all this in the next hour. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. An Iranian missile hit the main hospital in southern Israel early Thursday, wounding people and causing extensive damage, but no serious injuries. Other missiles hit a high-rise apartment building in Tel Aviv and other sites in central Israel. Israel, meanwhile, carried out strikes on Iran's Iraq heavy water reactor, its latest attack on Iran's nuclear program. Ukrainian President Zelensky is urging greater international pressure on Moscow following a deadly Russian missile strike that hit a Kyiv apartment building this week, killing 23 people. That strike was part of Russia's latest assault on Kyiv this year amid a broader offensive along the front line. While Russian President Vladimir Putin says he is open to talks on ending the war, he has effectively rejected a U.S. ceasefire offer. This is SRN News.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher, host of the Mike Gallagher Show here. And when it comes to mortgages, I only trust the team that's helped me and my family more than once. Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. These guys are friends, believers. They built a company on biblical values that actually puts you first. In today's economy, with everything costing more, you need a lender who can help you make smart strategic moves when it comes to real estate. Need cash for home improvements? Thinking about a HELOC or a refi to consolidate debt? Well, Fellowship Home Loans can help you do it faster and for less. Why? Because they're a direct lender, not a broker. No middleman. No unnecessary fees. That means fewer hoops, less waiting, and real answers from real people who care. Whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or just exploring your options, Fellowship Home Loans will tailor everything to your unique needs. Get started at fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 81938. The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Alabama Wholesale Lumber. Alabama Wholesale Lumber, serving the river region with the best quality building materials for decades. Contractor to do-it-yourselfer. Call Alabama Wholesale Lumber.
Rich Thomas weather.
Hi, everybody. Another hot and humid forecast with a high today, 90 to 92, I would say. And that'll be fuel for the fire for a complex of storms that'll be moving into central Alabama this afternoon and into South Alabama early this evening. Some of the storms could be strong, possibly severe, with damaging wind gusts possible. Today's high up to about 92. Tonight's low in the low to mid 70s. Then for tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, as summer begins, hotter days with highs in the low to mid 90s. There will be fewer storms. They will be widely scattered, and the heat index will be close to the 105 danger range over the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Whether you're buying a home or auto or consolidating debt, CB&S Bank's personal loans get you where you need to go. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you or apply online today. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. A Montgomery man has been arrested on charges related to an assault and kidnapping. The female victim was found late Monday night on West South Boulevard and taken to a local hospital in serious condition. 26-year-old Amajay Nelson Cox allegedly poured an accelerant on the victim and set her on fire. Montgomery Public Schools is still providing meals for kids over the summer. The MPS summer feeding program will run through July 3rd, providing a midday meal for children under 18. Meals will be served Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. until noon. Parents will not be allowed to pick up meals for children who aren't present. Alabama State University is making room for more students to live on campus. ASU held a groundbreaking ceremony Wednesday for 2 new apartment complexes that will house nearly 500 students, increasing the total number of students on campus to almost 3,000. The project is part of ASU's 2030 strategic plan. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Hey, this is Lyle from Margaret's Exquisite Jewelry, and I do my radio advertising on Blue Water. I'll tell you what, I use most of the stations, and I've been using it for so long. It's hard to tell with the money you spend on advertising if it does any good. When they come in and say, I heard you on the radio, I know it's Blue Water, and I love Blue Water.
Did you know that radio is the #1 reach platform in all of media? It's true. Call us to find out how to put radio's #1 reach to work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Come on down to Epicure and Jack's Tavern, where Southern comfort meets culinary delight. For just $9.99, seniors can enjoy their lunch meat special with 3 hearty sides, including a drink and bread. Regular sizes are just $13.99. Remember, at Epicure and Jack's, they make every dish from scratch every day. This isn't fast food, it's fresh food, crafted with care. Join them for a taste of the South, only at Epicure and Jack's Tavern.
Don't you love the feeling of coming home to a clean house? Let Southern Bells Cleaning Service get your home in order. Families in the River region trust Southern Bells because they know Callan and Jesse will show up on time and believe in cleaning the old-fashioned way. They bring all their own supplies and specialize in full-service, residential, commercial, vacant properties, and construction cleanup. Estimates are always free. Call Southern Bells today at 546-0715 or follow them on Facebook at Southern Bells Cleaning River Region.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Death to America, except for Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Well, it ain't so lovely outside right now. These storms rolling through, hearing some thunder rumbling above me. Hopefully the power stays on. White House now saying, it was in that press conference, the decision on Iran in next 2 weeks. I like this. I think there are certain forces, especially in American media, trying to cow the president to do it now, sir. Time is of the essence, sir. And he's delaying that decision while flexing and moving a lot of very important, very powerful assets into the region. So that's a good sign, as far as I'm concerned. Let's go to line 3 and talk to TS. Say, TS, how are you?
Hey, Joey, I'm quite well. And you?
I'm good, though. I do need a little sunshine. I'll take it from Texas or anywhere else.
Hey, okay, we'll do a road trip. Anyway, I don't know when you're going on your little trip, but I'll be praying for you to have safe travels and enjoy quality time with your niece.
Thank you. It's really just a straight shot up 65 north and right to Nashville.
I know, but still. Okay, let me focus. I was up way before the break of dawn, and I tried not to read much media news, but, you know, I read a little bit of, is it Rutgers?
Reuters.
And, you know, a lot of the concern right now in the Middle East is there's a atomic catastrophe waiting to happen kind of thing, like we're right on the edge, which they're probably playing up just for media and all of us to get all freaked out. But anyway, I got a little concerned. Not overly concerned, but a little bit. But it's okay, I think. I just wanted to say that and make sure that you have safe travels.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I can understand. I've made that mistake where you wake up at the crack of dawn and people start talking about dirty bombs and thermonuclear war. And you're like, I don't know how to, I'm going to go outside and put the phone down. It's designed to get a rise out of all of us. And I think the White House saying,
I did that too, Joey.
Oh yeah. I hear you.
It's not scary. I mean, if it happens, it happens, you know, but it's not in our hands.
Amen.
It's in his hands.
Amen.
Period. And he already knows what's going to happen. So I'm going to leave it at that. And I'll be praying for you to have safe travels and have too much fun with your niece. And I'll talk to you whenever you get back.
Thank you, TS. Let's go to Papa B. Hey, Papa B, how you doing?
Oh, aren't you the smart little wordsmithy? Wait, watch, wonder,
witness.
Yeah. How long did it take you to come up with that one?
Off the top of my head.
Well, you're learning. See, you hang around Papa B and you learn these things.
Oh, I do credit you with a lot of my development.
You could turn that into a sermon if you weren't so irreverent. You know?
You know, people online say to engage with boomer cons is to engage in self-trolling. And I'm like, well, I do it for a living.
Yeah. Now you're learning. So yeah. Oh yeah. Nobody would believe you. I mean, you lack credibility on the sermon part, but it was pretty good actually. I'm proud of it.
Well, I mean, but not to be cynical, but who doesn't love a redemption story? Like he finally came around.
It finally made it to the altar.
By the way, if you ever see me put out a book about how much like I am so born again and now I'm running for office, run.
Run. I believe that. Yeah. So anyway, about this whole business. Trump, I just don't see him as like a huge, invasive army, Marines, all these folks going in, boots on the ground kind of president. I mean, how many times did he say I bombed the doo-doo out of them?
Oh, sure.
I mean, I would think that if he's ever going to do anything like that, it would be like, well, we're going to go in after we've, just turned it into a sea of glass, to clean up type thing. We'd never, under Trump, I don't see him as the kind of president that would put, his, the personnel at risk, or at least as minimal as possible. Who knows how it's going to turn out? I don't know, but in my humble opinion, I think he's going to pull out the win on it,
one way or the other. Yeah.
Rush. Well, yeah, not just one way or the other, but I don't think it's going to come to it. I really don't. I'm thinking that he's going to be able to bring, the parties out to go ahead and negotiate it all out. I think he's probably going to wind up getting Russia involved to help with Iran and also to, come out of the Ukraine situation. I mean, if anybody can do it, Donald Trump could do it,
Yeah.
And I guess that's what kind of, maybe, is it a hope? Yeah, I guess so. Looking at it cold by today.
I mean, but that's everybody these days. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of hope, a lot of despair and doom and gloom. I mean, it's all over the place, but we're just kind of sitting here waiting, watching, witnessing.
Wondering and witnessing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Appreciate it, Papa B. 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation like TS and Papa B just did. Now, to give a little bit of insight, this was the president yesterday in the Oval Office saying this could go all sorts of ways. I just want to accomplish that final goal. Victory will look like Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. Let's listen in.
Contributed to that change, how you got to where you are and making your decision now?
Well, I think it started the first night. I mean, that first night was devastating. And it really knocked the one side off, as you know. Devastating evening, day. And it pretty much proceeded that way. I have a meeting in the war room in a little while. Situation room, as some people call it. So we're going to meet. We're going to see. We're in the midst of it's a terrible thing. I hate to see it. I hate to see all that death. So much death and destruction.
Mm-hmm.
But death primarily is what I hate to see.
Does that mean you haven't made a decision yet on what to do?
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due. Because things change. I mean, especially with war, things change with war. It can go from one extreme to the other. War is very bad. There was no reason for this to be a war. There was no reason for Russia, Ukraine. A lot of wars there was no reason for. You look right up there. I don't know. See the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if the Civil War. It always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people.
Honestly, that's a message I like hearing in the midst of all this. Again, it seemed to me in the last few days, the game was, we got to do it now. Do it right now, Mr. President. Do it right now. And classic Trump, he's not playing into, let's say, traps others have set for him. Let's go to line one. You're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Joey. It's Bill.
Hey, Bill. How are you?
Great. How are you today?
Good.
No 80, huh?
Nope. The real estate came a calling. You know, Eddie.
Always be closing.
That's just his motto.
I see. So, to me, and I may be all wrong about this, and I know I listened to Judge Tuesday, and he came down pretty hard on Trump and the Israeli Iran thing. But to me, the reality of it is Israel and Trump basically went to the Iranians and said, do you want to keep the nuclear facilities that you currently have? If you do, then you need to come sit down and talk with us. And they said, no, we're going to do what we want to do.
Yep.
And, memory serves me, and I haven't really followed this, but the last thing I heard, and it's been probably 6 or 8 years ago, really, was that the Iranians were not allowing for any inspection. They weren't letting any foreigners come in and see what they were doing in their nuclear facilities.
There were inspections allowed in most nuclear facilities, but there were a couple, I believe, where they said, no, you cannot come in here. And they happen to be the ones that are built deep, deep under a mountain. There's Fordo, and I'm forgetting the other one. There's another one that isn't as much talked about. They've been building up in the last few years that they've not allowed any inspectors from the IAEA into them.
And there could be several different reasons for that. One is you don't want anybody to know how deep it is. The other is you're doing stuff you don't want to let the world know that you're doing.
Yep.
Like enriching uranium to weapons grade. So, it's kind of one of those things when you've got a group that won't negotiate, that tells you if you take any actions against us, we're going to attack you. And there's no doubt they've got people in this country for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and apparently they're holding back a lot of their hypersonics, too, that could hit carrier groups, that could hit bases in the air. I mean, these things really can't be stopped, or it's a hope and a prayer that you could stop them. That's why I believe, the Fifth Fleet is housed right there in the Persian Gulf, getting the nation. But they just moved a lot of assets out of the region, the U.S. military did, knowing that the hypersonics are a possibility.
Yeah. Well, the thing about hypersonics is you can't stop them, but you can make them miss.
True.
So that's probably your best bet, is to foil the guidance or disguise the targets to be bigger than they are and get a miss. But it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. If I was the Iranians and I wanted to keep what I had, I'd probably be coming to the table and at least saying, well, what can we negotiate here? Because if they don't, they're going to lose it.
Well, and there's a lot of this big talk going on right now. Like a couple of nights ago, the Iranians said events tonight will be talked about for centuries in the future. And it's like, what happened? Like, there's a lot of big talks. And the Israelis have complete control of Iranian skies at this point. In fact, I'll play that. The ambassador from Israel to the United States kind of gave a layout of here's where we are. And I'll play that just in a second.
All right. Sounds great. Have a great day and a good weekend.
Appreciate it, Bill. Again, that's 272-9228 if you want to join in on the conversation. Let's go to the Israeli perspective. This is the Israeli ambassador, Michael Leiter, and he's going to give a basic breakdown update from their perspective of how this war is going. Again, the White House saying decision on Iran, and we'll give you a 2-week window, saying we're not too worried about Russia and China jumping in. But here is the Ambassador Leiter, laying out, the Israeli perspective.
Outside the Situation Room here at the Israeli Embassy in Washington. So it's not the 6-day war. We enter into the 7th day, but there are still many miracles. Talent, intelligence, courage, and miracles. We've achieved air superiority over the skies of Iran in 3 days. What Russia did not accomplish over Ukraine in 3 years, we accomplished in 3 days. Iran has 9 times the population that we have and is 75 times larger in territory than we are. Russia has 4 times the population of Ukraine and is 28 times the size of Ukraine. And yet, we achieved air superiority in 3 days. And here's an interesting tidbit about American equipment and Israeli pilots. The distance between Israel and Tehran is 1,400 miles. The distance between Washington and Fort Worth, Texas, is 1,400 miles. Why Fort Worth? That's where the F-35s are manufactured. Apparently, when Israeli pilots are coupled with American-made F-35s, it's a winning combination. We've neutralized Iran's air defense systems through precision airstrikes. We've assassinated the scientists leading the Iranian Manhattan Project, nuclear scientists preparing the nuclear weapons that Iran was planning. And we've taken out their top generals, top military leaders. The chief of command was taken out Thursday night in a simultaneous attack which killed them all. And he was replaced Friday, and his replacement lasted for 4 days. Not a job description that a lot of people are lining up for right now. So we've destroyed also the missile production centers and storage depots. When you see those clusters of smoke rising, you know that the targets are not population centers like the Iranians shoot their ballistic missiles into our cities. They're sites of production for ballistic missiles and nuclear material. We've taken out their control centers, their communication and propaganda centers, and we'll continue to do so because our pilots, our entire military is focused, is committed, our people are resolute, our resilience is strong, and our confidence is high in the justice of this cause. I think it's worth calling your attention to something that the Chancellor of Germany said yesterday, Friedrich Merz. Israel is indeed doing the dirty work on behalf of us all. We too are affected by this regime. This evil regime has brought nothing but death and destruction to the world with terror attacks, with murder and bloodshed, with Hezbollah, Hamas, October 7th, 2023 in Israel. And none of this would have been possible without the regime in Tehran. I can only say this, I have the utmost respect of the courage of the Israeli army and of the courage of the Israeli leadership in doing what had to be done. Otherwise, we might have continued witnessing this regime's terrorism for months and years to come, and perhaps eventually with a nuclear weapon in its hands. And how symbolic and how important is it that it is the Chancellor of Germany making that statement? 80 years ago, there was another leader of Germany, a little Austrian, who for 15 years talked about taking over Europe and the world. And there were those who appeased him, who said, we don't want forever wars. They were isolationists who said, let it go. They've been warning us now for 15 years and nothing has happened, because he started talking about that in 1923. But he didn't have the political and military power to actually start implementing it until 1938. It took almost 15 years. So now when people come and say to us, well, Israel's prime minister has been talking about this for 15 years and nothing has happened, there's a point of combustion. And we saw what happens when you miss that point. We can't miss that point again. The result 80 years ago was a world war with 65 million dead and 6 million Jews annihilated. We're not going in that route again. And that's what the Chancellor of Germany apparently understands very well.
Again, just giving you the Israeli perspective on this as we wait for what America might do in terms of offensive support. Seems they are delaying that decision, though. Somebody asking on the stream, is the 16 billion password leak story true? Well, reading the story here, Apple, Google, Facebook users exposed what's being called the largest password leak in history has just been confirmed. 16 billion login credentials. Many from major platforms like Apple, Google, Facebook, GitHub, and more are now exposed and circulating. Researchers say the leak comes from 30 separate data sets, most of it new, not recycled. And it's not just usernames and passwords. URLs, emails, and full login sequences are included. This isn't just a breach, it's a blueprint for mass phishing, account takeovers, and digital identity theft at a global scale. This is fresh, weaponizable intelligence at scale, said researchers, and it's live now. Act fast, stay ahead, or get locked out. Now, it's from Forbes and Cyber News. It's a little provocative, but, just to be safe, you should be changing your passwords on a regular basis. Some folks calling BS, saying, well, these researchers are being sensational. But I think it is just good data hygiene at this point online to, have two-factor verification, to be able to switch out your password pretty quickly. A lot of folks, rely on biometrics like, your Face ID and whatnot. But that was definitely a story that got my attention. That this is probably the biggest data leak in history. The largest password leak in known history. Y'all be diligent out there and practice good security standards and privacy standards. I could take my own advice as well. Again, 272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. Got to hit a break here. But first, this part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. And at Dillon Rings, they are celebrating Leslie Ryder's upcoming birthday. She's hitting the 50-year mark. And so in celebration of Leslie's upcoming birthday, they are doing 50% off on half of the store. And if you go to Facebook right now, you can see Leslie's inventory spotlight. It's a diamond ring, an absolutely gorgeous diamond ring, one that almost like wraps around your fingers. It normally goes for $3,455. But with the birthday celebration sale, you can get it for a little over $1,700. And this sale ends June the 28th. So you need to get by Dillon Rings. Even brave the rain, brave the storms. Get by there. They're wonderful folks. They might even let you stay a little longer. It's storming too much outside. Get by there. You're going to love the selection and inventory they have and see what is on sale. And by the way, wish Leslie Ryder a big happy birthday. That location, 119 Brown Springs Road here in Montgomery. That's just off of Atlanta Highway. Sort of you're going into the back end entrance of AUM off Atlanta Highway. It's where the old fun zone used to be, folks who remember. And when you stop by, be sure to tell Josh and Leslie that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you. I'll tell you a little more about Dillon Rings later in the program. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
For reliable electrical services in Central Alabama, trust the experts at Crosby Electric. Crosby's licensed and insured electricians are ready to tackle any project for your home. From troubleshooting, repairs, to installing new lighting and preventive maintenance. And Crosby understands the need for quality service for small business. Crosby is big enough for the largest job, yet small enough to bring real value. Visit CrosbyElectric.com to schedule your service. Crosby, powering Central Alabama with excellence.
This is David Ernest from the Health and Wealth Show. We like to cut up and have fun, maybe poke a little fun at some politicians, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. One thing we do take seriously is your personal finances and your plans for retirement. You can tell by listening, we're a little different. Yeah, we like to have a good time on the radio, but we're dead serious about your financial future and helping you achieve your goals. At Ernest Financial, we're committed to giving you the attention you need. We don't treat you like a number. You're way more important to us. At Ernest Financial, it's about helping you today and preparing you for tomorrow. People call us who are on the verge of retirement, and they know they need a plan for the future. No matter where you are in life, Ernest Financial will help guide your every step towards retirement. Give us a call and let us show you what our individual customer attention can do for your future.
Concerned about your retirement? Call David Ernest toll free at 833-596-7233. That's 833-596-SAFE.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values. This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing.
Hey, this is Robbie Clark. Stay cool with a spring tune-up with Clark Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Don't wait. Schedule today. Give us a call at 334-277-2125. Alabama certification number 09098.
Rich Thomas weather.
Hi, everybody. Another hot and humid forecast with a high today, 90 to 92, I would say. And that'll be fuel for the fire for a complex of storms that'll be moving into central Alabama this afternoon and into South Alabama early this evening. Some of the storms could be strong, possibly severe, with damaging wind gusts possible. Today's high up to about 92. Tonight's low in the low to mid 70s. Then for tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, as summer begins, hotter days with highs in the low to mid 90s. There will be fewer storms. They will be widely scattered, and the heat index will be close to the 105 danger range over the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Budget Floors and More is your low price leader for everything you need for flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies. For the best prices on luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, flooring installation supplies, and more, shop Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
Live local talk, the River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now, sticking on this issue of Israel and Iran and what the president might do and what all the different camps are talking about, let's do a little bit of history. This is Richard Nixon talking about how an American president should think through America first. I don't even know how many years ago this was. Maybe the 80s, early 90s. This is, again, President Nixon explaining how he navigated this tangled web of interest and how he, well, would put the United States sometimes ahead of other nations.
Their belief is that being for Israel first means that that does not mean you're putting America second, because they think it goes together. An American president, however, has to approach it in a different way, in my opinion. He's got always to think first of what is best for America. Usually, what is best for America is also best for Israel and vice versa. On occasions, an American president must make a decision that does not, in effect, give the Israelis a blank check. And one example of that is a decision that I made. I decided early on in our administration that we were going to seek good relations with Egypt and others of Israel's neighbors. Many of my Israeli friends didn't like that because they wanted a special relationship with Israel and Israel only. But I have always said Israel's interests are better served to have the United States a friend of Israel's neighbors and potential enemies than to leave a vacuum which the Soviet Union would fill. I still believe that, and I think that should be American policy today.
So I think this is just genuinely right. and fairly common sense at the end of the day. But yeah, often our interests align with our allies, including Israel. But sometimes it cuts a different way. And again, this signal coming out today from the White House that Trump will decide on whether or not the U.S. will attack Iran within the next 2 weeks, to me signals he wants to see how well the Israelis can go about their business. Trump also apparently asking questions about the capability, the actual efficacy of the bunker busters. Headline says that Trump is not convinced the GBU-57 will penetrate enough to actually bust those bunkers deep underground. A lot of folks saying, oh, that's hogwash. Of course these things are going to get down there. I think there are a few test videos out there. Pretty remarkable technology. If you're into watching how weapons work, pretty remarkable stuff. And the best in the world. Nobody else in the world has these really, or the capability to deliver them in the way the United States can. But because of those doubts over what U.S. bunker bombs might be able to do, especially I need to look it up. There's not just Fordo. There's another site the Iranians have been building deep under a mountain with 4 different entrances over the last few years. But Trump has been wondering, and if you're thinking about the size of these, they're 30,000-pound bombs. Massive, massive bombs. But he's wondering if they would effectively eliminate Fordo. But he does not appear to be fully convinced. People aware of the insights of the White House right now. And, I also have to wonder, all this stuff coming out of the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, this is at The Guardian, a lot of the old corporate media. You got to wonder how much is the Trump administration feeding this out there, not because it's just straight hard fact, but because it's, a way to drive certain narratives and keep people on their toes. Apparently, defense officials were also told that to completely destroy Fordo, which Israeli intelligence estimates to go down as far as 300 feet, it would likely require the U.S. to first soften the ground with conventional bombs and then ultimately drop a tactical nuclear weapon from a B-2 bomber. That's pretty crazy. But of course, underscores the complex nature of such a strike and what success would entail. Dropping these bunker busters would likely set back Iran's ability to obtain weapons-grade uranium for up to a few years, but not end the program completely. And again, I think Trump is waiting this 2 weeks, and, that's a big window. It could be tomorrow. The bombs start falling. But it could be a wait and see of what can the Israelis do on their own. But of course, the question to me is not the capability of, the U.S. Air Force, or for that matter, the Israeli Air Force at this point. Pretty astounding that they were able to get air supremacy in just a few days. Pretty amazing. A clip of Putin going around saying, we told our partners, as he always says it, that, we could help you out with some of these S-300 systems and, these missile defense systems. And the Iranians weren't interested. Our partners weren't interested, Putin said. It was kind of like, you interested now? But beyond the capability of knocking this stuff out, what happens next? And that's the question that came out today. This is an interview with Senator Rand Paul, I think the only non-interventionist in the United States Senate. He has some allies and some friends, but he's really the only vocal one, has been forever. Let's listen in to what Senator Paul had to say on, the long game.
Militarily, I think we can defeat Iran probably in a matter of weeks. If we went in there with Israel, we'd probably defeat them in a matter of weeks. It's what comes afterwards.
Just like Iraq, just like Afghanistan.
And it's the unintended consequences. And the neoconservatives who are for war all the time, everywhere, they don't think through the consequences, the unintended consequences. So the unintended consequences in Afghanistan took 20 years. When we finally left, it reverted back to the Stone Ages within 6 months. We wasted $1 trillion in there. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have gone after our enemies there. We should have, but we should have come home 3 months later. It just, the whole nation building enterprise in Afghanistan was a huge mistake. In Iraq, we take out the main opposition to Iran. So by anybody's estimate, Iran is more of a problem regionally because Saddam Hussein's gone. And, it's those unintended consequences of what happens after the war. And the same way here, what are the unintended consequences of this? Do they rush to the bomb, or do they have a nuclear weapon in 3 months after the bombing attack, instead of them capitulating and say, oh, we're sorry, we're no longer going to try to pursue nuclear weapons?
And thinking this through is, to me, common sense. And that's the one thing that was very revealing from that Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz back and forth. Despite it, at a certain point, it just became catty, like both men throwing nonsense at each other. That said, there was some fascinating stuff that came out. And to me, it seemed like Cruz and a lot of other folks don't focus as much as they should on the long-term unintended consequences. Cruz maintains, I'm not neoconservative. I'm not the most hawkish, which a lot of people in, say, the anti-war, non-interventionist, isolationist, if you want to use that word, camp, I go, yeah, sure, Teddy boy, you're non-interventionist. But Cruz maintains, no, I don't support certain strikes if they don't make sense. And I think this might make sense. But Cruz did draw a line saying, I don't think we should try to usher in regime change. Again, we'll see. It could be Trump. There, I said the damn phrase. I was trying not to say it all day. Said it once there. But it is true. We'll see. It could be Trump using, say, refueling tankers, creates a refueling corridor over Iraqi airspace that allows the Israelis to quickly refuel their F-35s and continue bombing Iran at a much faster pace with all that support there. This ambiguity, I think, is the idea. The ambiguity is part of the plan. But what might happen with other players? Say Iran does fall to pieces. Say there's a popular uprising or there's a civil war in that country. Who could it really benefit in the region? What does China do? What do the Russians do? But what is a NATO ally that's kind of a frenemy, though? Long thought that President Erdogan of Turkey has neo-Ottoman, like the Ottoman Empire aspirations. Not that sort of thing you put your feet on. You know what I'm talking about, the Ottoman Empire. This is a guy named Mike Duran. He was on Tim Pool's show, Timcast. And they were trying to game out on the program, like, what might occur if things get really, really messy here in the months and months and months ahead. Duran is, I think, a senior fellow or something like that at the Hudson Institute, a big military think tank. We've had, for instance, Arthur Herman, one of my, if not my favorite historian on the program a lot. He's at Hudson Institute. And so let's listen into this back and forth. Interesting speculation here.
China will do. Let's say things get really desperate for the Iranians. What will China do? I don't think it'll intervene militarily, but will it take some kind of steps to bolster the Iranians? I don't know. I don't know what those would be.
It said that Iran was their largest energy provider, right? Who's
2
their
million barrels per day.
Who is their second largest?
Let's pull a list.
Probably Saudi Arabia.
Like that's because then the question is like, what would you do to protect the number one source of energy for your country, right?
It's as much a strategic relationship as it is an economic. They benefit from the fact that Iran gives them oil at very cheap prices, but it also helps them because Iran is the most disruptive actor in the region, and the United States has no influence over it. So if anyone in the region, if our allies want help with Iran, they're inclined to go to Beijing.
Does it say?
This doesn't say that Iran is their biggest. It says Saudi Aramco.
Saudi Arabia.
Rosneft, Russia. It makes sense that Russia would be a bigger energy provider because they just call it a cold. The foreign policy guys call Russia like a cold gas station.
Yeah,
that's what they sell. They sell energy.
That's their whole.
ExxonMobil provides a lot to China as well. Shell, Woodside Energy. Yeah, I don't know. This said Iran is one of their top energy partners, one of their key energy suppliers, whatever that means.
They buy from everybody.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how much of a threat a fractured and shattered Iran would be to the region, though, and how much China is concerned about it.
Concerned, very concerned. The big if Iran were to fracture, of course they'd lose an ally, because they have China. It's China, Russia, Iran, North Korea against us and our allies. But if Iran were to actually fracture, I think the big winner in the game will be Turkey, because the one third of all Iranians are Turks.
Interesting.
And so it will change the the ethnic composition of Iran. It could actually break it up, but more than likely, I think there would just be an Iran that had a more Turkic flavor to it.
Fascinating. And then, of course, Pakistan, very worried about if it gets very hairy there, people crossing the border into their territory, and they certainly don't want that. And it's interesting how all these other places you can talk about religious ties and ethnic ties, but some of these governments that run these nations, they don't want that instability of people just flowing through your border. And in particular, with a nation of 90 million people, 90 something, give or take, you're talking about a massive refugee crisis. You already saw how that played out. It's something often not talked about. When we say Syria, not just Iraq, but Syria and Libya were a disaster. Have you seen what's going on in European nations after this massive migration? There are consequences, unintended consequences, spin-off consequences. So as people are trying to game this out, well, eventually we'll witness what happens as we watch and wonder. As all this is going on, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, was in front of the United States Senate, and it created a little bit of political theater and a few heated moments. So, for instance, there's the whole transgender policy. I think this was actually in the House today. The Senate was yesterday. But let's get a load of this back and forth. Who is this woman? Congresswoman Jacobs, I believe. I don't know who this is, but this is how you discover new people on the right and the left as they get newly elected to the Congress. She's going to be going toe-to-toe with Pete Hegseth over the transgender issue and the transgender ban on troops in the United States military.
Because if it were, you would be keeping these women in. Instead, you are the one injecting culture wars into the military, and it's at the detriment of our military readiness and national security. Now, General Kane, I'd like to turn to you.
So to be clear, these are men who think they're women.
These are women. I'm happy to educate you on
But these are men.
on trans
And so
issues at another
what we've
time.
identified is that there's mental health issues
I'd
with
like
that
to-
belief system
I'd like to turn to
that
General
are
Kane
detrimental
now.
to readiness. And that's the determination that we've made and that we stand behind. Gender dysphoria.
And so you don't,
creates
because if it
Man, she definitely has the upspeak and the condescension going for her. It's all the rage in the Democratic Party these days. I'll educate you later. Okay, lady. That wasn't all. There was a little bit of a tense moment between Hegseth and Senator Rosen is her name. And in this one, it was Hegseth being a little snot, but kind of in a way where you like it. You're like, he's on our team, and we like him like being a little cute by half with the senator here. Let's listen into this moment.
Did you discuss General Huck's dismissal with Laura Loomer prior to his removal?
I don't discuss who I talk about anything with, but ultimately this is my decision and he serves at the pleasure of the president. And that's why he's no longer there.
So do you believe it's appropriate for any social media personality to influence personnel decisions in your department? Yes or no?
I believe your time is up, Senator.
Oh, it is not up to you to tell me when my time is up.
Well, the time.
And I
of
am
the
going to
senator-
say, Mr. Secretary, you're either feckless or complicit. You're not in control of your department. You're unserious. It is shocking. You're not combating anti-Semitism within your ranks. It's a dangerous and pivotal time in our nation's history. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. And I don't appreciate the smirk, sir. You are the Secretary of Defense.
Here are the Secretary of Defense.
God. Why is everybody so catty? Like Tucker and Ted going at it? Now you got Pete Hegseth smirking and telling senators when their time is up. There was actually a moment that some people here might care about. And that is a guy who's running for governor here in the great state of Alabama. By the way, Coach Tommy Tuberville just got a big endorsement from who many thought might be his opponent in a gubernatorial race, Will Ainsworth, coming out. Full-throated support. This is on the heels of Katie Britt giving big support. Coach raising crap loads of money. So he is not going to be stopped there. Unstoppable moving object there. But here's the moment that, well, Tuberville had with Hegseth in that same hearing. Let's listen in.
Mr. Secretary, thanks for looking out for the law enforcement and the millions of people in California that still love this country and want this country to survive, and not the radicals that wave non-American flags, that protest in the streets, tear things down. It is ridiculous, and thank you for doing what you're doing, you and President Trump. It's getting out of hand.
Again, that is Coach addressing, sending Marines into Los Angeles to get a hold of things. Of course, Tuberville's been sparring with Governor Gavin Newsom. Maybe that's something we're going to see a lot of in the future. Governor Newsom sparring with Governor Tuberville. Who knows? That could be quite entertaining. I got to hit another break. First, though, this part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you, whether you're looking to buy a home. Could be, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, you need to work with Alabama Home Mortgage. They'll walk you through all the steps. It all begins with pre-approval. If you skip that first step, if you don't get pre-approved and you go out house shopping, what's going to happen is you're going to fall in love with a place. And you're going to be like, well, we should buy it. And when you go to even talk to the seller, they're going to, of course, ask about, did you get pre-approved? You're going to say no, and we got to start the process all over again. And by the time you get that pre-approval, somebody else has already bought that house up. It's a sad, sad thing. No, do it the right way. Do it from step one, pre-approval, all the way to closing day. They will walk with you there at Alabama Home Mortgage. And, of course, they can also help you with a great refinance deal. Maybe you want to restructure debt, especially credit card debt that is weighing you down with those massive APRs. Or you might be looking to have that monthly overhead brought a little bit lower so you can breathe a bit, especially if you're getting close to retirement, you're in retirement, and you want to bring down those monthly costs. A refinance deal through Alabama Home Mortgage can do just that. And there's all sorts of reasons, all sorts of goals you might have in refinancing. And don't forget, if you're a veteran, they know the latest with the VA home loan programs there at Alabama Home Mortgage. They can help you and better than anybody else I know. So y'all call them up today, 567-4223. You don't have to pull the trigger on anything. Just now, at least start the conversation with them if you're interested. That's 567-4223. Or you can always apply online at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies like Kim and Madeline. Prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
When you need a new door or window replaced, you want it done right. Someone who delivers expert craftsmanship every time. Experience is a must. Listen, Davis Door and Sash. They can show you new doors and windows that can help you lower your utility bills and boost energy efficiency. Davis Door and Sash, Alabama.com or call 334-288-6010. Davis Door and Sash, the perfect fit for your home.
Hello there, this is Dr. Sam, account executive with Blue Water Broadcasting. Why should you advertise with us? Frequency sells. The more ads you can get on the air, the better the chance it'll make an impact. Radio allows advertisers an inexpensive way to get their voice heard over and over again. Contact me, Dr. Sam, by going to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out more. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back. Before I have to hit my top of the hour break, it looks like as all this worry about war is going on, that Bobby Kennedy and team, they're overhauling public health in this nation and are scoring some victories. Let's listen in.
Are making changes to their products as the Trump administration pushes to make America healthy again. So take a look. We start with General Mills. They're removing artificial food dyes from U.S. cereals and the foods that they send to our schools, K through 12 schools. That's going to happen by next summer. This is going to happen by the end of 2027. They're removing all artificial dyes completely by the end, like I said, it's 2027. They make Trick cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cheerios, Rice Chex, the things that are probably in your pantry.
Nope, not in my pantry. I don't eat cereal, woman. Sorry, Ainsley's lovely. Keep going.
Also, Kraft and Heinz, they're saying goodbye to the artificial dyes by the end of 2027. Includes Jell-O, Capri Suns, Kool-Aid, and Crystal Light. Then the In-N-Out Burger, they removed artificial dyes from strawberry shakes and pink lemonade, and they replaced it with the beet juice and turmeric instead. Their focus is on the red 40 and the yellow 5. Also, the high fructose corn syrup, they're replacing that with natural sugar.
Nice.
Then let's take Steak and Shake. Instead, they're using the beef tallow fat. We've heard RFK Jr. talk a lot about this. Instead of the vegetable oils to make their French fries, their onion rings, and their chicken tenders. And the tallow fat, it's still unsaturated, but it is a lot healthier than the heavily processed seed oils. Then all the spices in your cabinets, McCormick, many of those in my cabinet are made by this brand, working to remove artificial food dyes and sodiums. Their focus is on the red dye number 3, which has been linked to cancer concerns.
All right, so Bobby Kennedy, he's bringing in all these changes. Everybody getting with the program. Now, most of that I don't use. But, well, I do use mustard. Heinz mustard. Well, I've been using French. I go back and forth between French's and Heinz. Does it really matter? I don't know. I just think it tastes good on a Conecuh wrap. Anyway, good to see RFK Jr. actually making some changes there. The big one will be probably getting TV ads for drugs off the television. That could be not only big for people not jumping to their doctor saying, well, I saw this ad for this thing called Jardiance. Now, it did say you can get an infection of the perineum, or I think that's a fancy word for the taint, and you could die from having an infected taint. But it also says it helps with cholesterol and depression. So can you tell me more about Jardiance? It'll stop that. And it will also affect the bottom line of a lot of, say, media companies holding on for dear life who rely on those big ad buys from Big Pharma. But I like what RFK Jr. and Jay Bhattacharya there at NIH. Pretty cool to see those guys in charge, especially after what everybody went through with the whole COVID regime. Final hour coming up. Y'all stay tuned.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
This is an SRN News special report. I'm John Scott. The White House says President Trump will decide within the next 2 weeks whether to strike Iran. It says the president still sees a substantial chance that negotiations can achieve U.S. and Israeli demands on Iran's nuclear program. President Trump says he doesn't want to carry out a U.S. strike on Iran, but he will if necessary.
Donald Trump has long denounced American military intervention around the world. When it comes to Iran, he's not itching to start a war, but says the U.S. stands ready to act.
I'm not looking to fight, but if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do.
The president is adamant about preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and says he remains undecided about ordering a military strike. Greg Clugston, Washington.
This has been an SRN News special report. I'm John Scott.
Sleep Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From little fender benders to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For 4 decades, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Hi, everybody. Another hot and humid forecast with a high today, 90 to 92, I would say. And that'll be fuel for the fire for a complex of storms that'll be moving into central Alabama this afternoon and into South Alabama early this evening. Some of the storms could be strong, possibly severe, with damaging wind gusts possible. Today's high up to about 92. Tonight's low in the low to mid 70s. Then for tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, as summer begins, hotter days with highs in the low to mid 90s. There will be fewer storms. They will be widely scattered, and the heat index will be close to the 105 danger range over the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
ASE's 25 and 25 has you covered. For just $25 in closing costs, you can tap into your home's equity. No hidden fees, no headaches, just extra cash. Visit your local ASE Credit Union branch today. Federally insured by NCUA, NMLS 420259. Terms apply.
ASE Credit Union. Your life, your goals, your ASE.
ASE, an equal housing lender.
1819 News.
Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth is now endorsing Tommy Tuberville for the upcoming 2026 governor's race in Alabama. Ainsworth recently decided to not run for that position, but instead returned to private life in order to spend more time with his family. Ainsworth says that Tuberville has developed a strong winning record and leadership in the Senate, just as he did on the football field, and will bring much needed reforms to the way in which Montgomery operates. Ainsworth said that he is confident that Tuberville, as Alabama's governor, will make this great state even better. Tuberville has since responded and thanked Ainsworth for his endorsement, saying that he and the lieutenant governor have a lot in common. Both were small business owners who ran for office in order to give back to this great state. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Did you know that 70% of people experience a potentially traumatic event in their lifetime, and that 6 out of every 100 adults face PTSD every day? Help us bring hope to these survivors by signing up for your Alabama Distinctive PTSD Awareness License Plate today. The great thing is you can sign up no matter when your current plate renews, and the first year is complimentary. All you need is your VIN number on hand. Drive awareness, drive hope, and customize your plate today at ease.org.
Alabama Republican Party Chairman John Wall may not have to resign from that position in order to run for lieutenant governor in 2026. A proposed rule is now underway that would clarify the ALGOP's bylaw that would allow for party leaders to take a leave of absence during a campaign. Congressional District 4 Chairwoman Bonnie Sachs is the one who's leading a petition that would clarify the rules. That petition needs 50 signatures in order to move forward. The current bylaws for the ALGOP do not prohibit or permit a leave of absence in such cases and would need to be clarified. Wall says he informed the executive committee of his consideration of running for lieutenant governor in order to meet a high standard of transparency. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Experience the local flavor at Epicure and Jack's Tavern. Their lunch special includes carefully crafted dishes, a drink, and bread for only $9.99 for seniors and $13.99 for others. They prepare every meal from scratch each day using local ingredients. No fast food here, just wholesome, delicious meals made with love. Visit them at Epicure and Jack's Tavern and taste the difference local makes.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
It's all a fugazi. You know what a fugazi is?
Fugazi. It's a fake.
Yeah, fugazi. It's a wazi. It's a woozy. It's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not real.
Right.
This is the Trump country. We live in the Southeast. We drink sweet tea. We don't drink socialist Kool-Aid.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back into the final hour here of the program. As the big voice said, 334-272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. And let's go through a potpourri of stories. Because I'm kind of talking about rumors of war and war ongoing. I'm sure something big will break that catches all of us paying attention once again. But for instance, the Texas border wall is still not constructed. About 740 miles. It's a lot of open space. Yet, Border Patrol reporting that they had no crossovers, brought nobody into the country. Pretty amazing achievement in that regard. The White House touting that. On that same theme, top DHS official there at Homeland Security says 75% of ICE arrests so far are convicted criminals. So talking about the first worst strategy, seems to be following through with that. The United States Senate passes the so-called Genius Act, a landmark piece of legislation signed into law. Well, Trump wants to sign into law. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Senate passed it. Trump then put out saying this is a brilliant bill. It's truly genius. We're going to do amazing things with crypto. And he called on the House of Representatives to pass it quick, pass it clean. Don't do any changes. Just get it on my desk so I can sign it. This is crucial. The AI and crypto czar David Sachs coming out saying if this becomes law, this will allow a lot of the traditional system to start building out, say, a more digital financial system that will, of course, also boost the OG cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. In other news, Vice President J.D. Vance, he went on this little site called Blue Sky. Yeah, ever since Elon Musk bought Twitter, it turned it into X. X is, by the way, looking to become the everything app. We'll have payment processing and messaging, and everything you do essentially will all be on X, if you so please. But ever since Elon changed Twitter to X, there have been multiple attempts to have a Twitter-like thing, but for progressives or whatever, for, I won't say a mean thing, but for people on the left. Well, Vance jumped on one of them called Blue Sky. And he said, since there's a lot of conversation going on here, I thought I'd be part of it. As your vice president, his account was banned for just looking for conversation in 15 minutes after joining the site Blue Sky. Then restored, and which is amazing. They're like, oh, crap, we can't talk to this guy. And then they realize, oh, well, we probably shouldn't ban the vice president of the United States. Yeah, it took about 15 minutes for them to get rid of him. So why did they ban him? Well, he shared his thoughts on the 6-3 ruling from the Supreme Court that upheld Tennessee's ban on sex change operations for kids. For that fringe position, supported by the majority of Americans, the White House and the Supreme Court, he was banned. One point saying, to that end, I found Justice Thomas's concurrence on medical care for transgender youth quite illuminating. He argues that many of our so-called quote-unquote experts have used bad arguments and substandard science to push experimental therapies on our youth. I might add that many of those scientists are receiving substantial resources from Big Pharma to push these medicines on kids. What do you think? And they banned him. But the account went back up after a few minutes. Most likely the account was taken down temporarily because the lefties reported his account en masse the moment they saw him on the platform, and it triggered an internal review. One person saying, fake or real, blocked and reported. But now that the account has been restored, you can see the comments on Vance's post about his thoughts regarding the concurrence of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. They're all very thoughtful, respectful, and engaging. F you, you piece of... Get off our platform. Get lost, Nazi. Cool. You're wrong. You are a liar. You are not with God. You are the devil incarnate and must be removed from power. Thanks for playing the game. You're out. That was Chris from Bellevue. No cult members allowed. I pray you get cancer every day, said one person to J.D. Vance. I think you're a boring psychopath, and the fact you created an account here to do a bit of trolling is embarrassing. Another guy said, this is misinformation. Virtually every major medical association supports gender-affirming care, no matter which bought-off right-wing justice tries to suggest otherwise. Rightist ideology is a threat to science. So, y'all can go hang out in your pig pen that nobody pays attention to other than yourselves. Good luck with that. Also in random news, the guy who is apparently, at least claims to be, and has been certified as a record holder for the highest IQ in the world, just put out this message on X. His name is Young Hoon Kim. I believe he's South Korean. The message was, as the world's highest IQ record holder, I believe that Jesus Christ is God, the way and the truth and the life. He then put out a video explaining why he logically believes, and based on the latest science, that God is real. It's pretty long. My main takeaway from it is he has learned from the latest in quantum physics that information is never destroyed. And as he started reading into near-death experiences for some folks, he started to think of how, say you shut off a video game. Like a lot of people play around with this idea of the simulation theory, that we're all in a simulation right now. Well, say it's like a video game. It's like a simulation, and you shut down the game, you go off living the rest of your day, not playing that game. A lot of the information isn't just stored in the physical hardware. It's stored in the cloud somewhere. So he almost thinks that consciousness it's not the end when we die. It does leave the body. I've had that experience seeing people at open casket funerals. That, in fact, the first funeral I really remember was my great-grandmother, Anna, from Andalusia. And even as a little kid, I'm like, well, I'd gotten to know her a little bit. Man, she could cook. And I remember thinking, well, she's not there anymore. And I had the same feeling with my great-grandfather, Papa Joe, who in part I'm named after. That, well, he's not there anymore. And was his body. And again, this is a South Korean guy. I think his IQ's in the 200s or something. It's absolutely crazy. He seems to think that with the latest science, that a lot of this stuff is plausible, that death is not the end. And that information that is your consciousness isn't destroyed when you die. It goes somewhere else. And again, he puts out that I believe Jesus Christ is God, the way, the truth, and the life. Big church there in South Korea, for those of you who didn't know it either. It's amazing how it continues to spread around the world. And the fact that we got a Pope driving around in Rome with some Americans over there yelling about White Sox, and the Pope joins in a White Sox chant. Well, if you're a Cubs fan, I don't know how you feel about that. But pretty fascinating stuff. And in a second, we'll get into this headline. ChatGPT is making certain people legitimately crazy. OpenAI is destroying lives. We have another guy. It's a CBS investigation who wants to marry a large language model. He wants to marry his chatbot that he programmed to have a flirty voice. By the way, he's He has a partner who's a woman, not his wife, a partner. They're not married, and they have a kid together. And he wants to marry the frickin' AI. Weak. Anyway, let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
This Crawdad.
Hey, Crawdad.
Hey, what I just heard was you were talking about Mr. from South Korea, Mr. You told me his name. Kim.
Yeah.
No, wait. Kim, okay. It reminded me, the first thing I remembered that when Stephen Hawking tied things together in his mind, he had an epiphany toward the very last of his days. He had the epiphany of things too. So I just thought that was very interesting that some very bright people, they do finally come to the conclusion, kind of like a long time ago on the HMS Beagle. Okay, now that when the back end of the book of the origins of species, he speculates that it looks pretty much like everything is designed, that it was not random. So these smart guys, they're getting it. We should just at least listen to, it's not all about logic. It's not all logic.
It isn't. Faith is a place.
So thank you for putting that out there.
Thank you, Crawdad. 272-9228. Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, Joey, it's Charles the First.
Hey, Charles. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was going to tell you, since you brought up Andalusia and you're bringing up what you're bringing up, and I've talked about him before, which is Dr. Frank J. Tipler from Andalusia, and in his book, The Physics of Immortality, and he also did the Omega Point Theory. He said back then, I want to say in the 80s, which I read his stuff back in the 79, 78, and like that, that we would be computer-wise what is happening right now would be exactly what's happening. And his mathematics was checked by both Stephen Hawking, who could find no mistake, and David, I don't know how you pronounce it because I read these things, Deutch, Dosch.
Yeah,
the foremost quantum physics just won the Nobel Prize. Neither one of them could find an error in what he did, which was link Christianity and the major religions with science. And still, till right now, that mathematics cannot be overdone. The only way that you could make it any different is if the standard model of physics became changed. As long as it stays the way that it is, you use his math, it brings you to those conclusions.
Oh yeah, there have been a lot of folks throughout the years. I mean, and stretching back into the centuries and the millennia, that have been trying to think this through. I think a little bit. I always go back. Craig Monger brought this up the other day. It's one of my favorite stories. You think of like Thomas Aquinas, no dummy by any means, and he doesn't finish the Summa Theologica because he has this near the end of life mystical experience while he's at Mass, an encounter with the divine. And I believe the quote is he said, "Everything I've written is straw compared to what I just experienced." So it's not like he stopped and tore up everything he wrote. And when he died, I think he was on his way to a council to help folks. But there are, I truly do believe this as much as I can say forthright what I believe, that there are things in this world and about this life that you can't put into words and is immune from logical explanations, that the ineffable is very real and at the bottom of everything. And unless you really experience it firsthand, it's straw compared to any system you might be able to think up. I'm not against thinking up the systems. I think they're fascinating. But I think there's something that is more apparent. Like if you had to describe your love for somebody, like a love for a child or a love for a parent, like you could, but it wouldn't quite capture, I think, deep down what exactly you mean in experience, if you're getting what I'm saying.
Correct. Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. And Thomas Aquinas is quoted and looked at by Hitler. Like when he's on these programs, he's actually saying, "I'm viewing religion from the point of view of Aquinas."
Yeah.
But and like what you're saying, how do we all know that we are experiencing even the color red, the color blue, or that feeling that you're talking about? to the same degree in the same way.
Right.
You get me?
Yeah. Is there a common universe? Is there a orderly universe to be known beyond us in our minds? Yeah.
Yes. But I thought I'd bring that up since we're talking about Andalusia. Remember, I used to live there.
Oh, yeah.
Myself, all through high school and everything, graduated there. But I just thought I'd bring that up and have everybody look at Frank J. Tipler too, because you'll find it very, very interesting. Like the connection, there's only one person that's his mentor that's between him and Einstein. So he's a cosmologist on the level of Hawking. So,
And it's on Amazon, folks, the book Charles is talking about, The Physics of Immortality, and just look it up. It's The Physics of Immortality by Frank J. Tipler.
From Andalusia.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate it, Charles, as always.
Take care.
272-9228. That's 334-272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group. And they're at the Goodson Group. Bo and the team are ready to help you, whether you're looking to buy or sell here in the Montgomery and surrounding areas. And, of course, I'm talking about that house of yours, whether you're looking to buy or sell here in the housing market, the River Region real estate market. The Goodson Group is ready to help you out, especially because Bo has about 50 years of experience in this market. He's seen it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And not only can they help you with buying and selling there at the Goodson Group, they also have management services available should you want to rent out your home. Great idea in this market, have a rental investment. But managing it yourself, especially if you have no experience with it, can be a real pain in the butt. Why not, for a reasonable fee, have the Goodson Group do that for you, manage that rental for you? And then the crown jewel there, where Bo's 50 years of experience really comes into play, is at the Bo Goodson Real Estate School, one of the most highly acclaimed, here in the great state of Alabama. And a lot of folks have graduated from Bo's Real Estate School, gone on to be more knowledgeable private players, gone on to be fully licensed real estate agents. And you can do the same once you go through the Bo Goodson Real Estate School. So check them out today. You can always go to thegoodsongroup.com or give them a call at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. Bo Goodson and the Goodson Group, great sponsor here of the program. And while we're just jumping around all sorts of different news items, and I'm trying to clear my throat, let's go to something we were mentioning a little bit yesterday. The change in the workforce here in the United States and what it suggests about Trump's immigration enforcement efforts and how self-deportation might very well be a very real thing. This is Peter St. Onge. You know the fellow. We play him occasionally. Let's listen into Peter and what he has to say about these latest labor statistics.
Two new studies find self-deportations are running 5 to 10 times the number of formal deportations, suggesting north of 1 million illegals could already be gone. In case you wonder why the Home Depot parking lot no longer looks like a Guatemalan bus station. In Trump's first 4 months, he's deported about 140,000 illegals, which is about 1,500 a day. That's roughly half what he had hoped, partly because left-wing judges and lawfare litigating every deportation while left-wing rioters throw rocks, urine, and fortified fireworks at ICE agents. And it's partly because the administration is pursuing a worst first strategy of going after hardened criminals, which are manpower intensive, and ICE only has so many agents. Still, 1,500 is disappointing. At that rate, Trump would deport maybe 2 million in his entire term, something like 1 in 10 illegals. The administration's recently tried to ramp this up towards 3,000 a day, which is more respectable, but it's actually a lot better because several new studies estimate that for every person ICE hauls off, another 5 to 10 are leaving voluntarily for fear of being hauled off. So one study from Trend Macro estimates 773,000 illegals have left since Trump took office. It's about 5 times more than formal deportations and comes to about 7,000 per day. The Washington Post estimates 1 million workers have self-deported, which implies closer to 1.6 million people. So that would be about 15,000 per day. Now, if these numbers are real and if they continue, Trump could get rid of more than half of illegals. The Washington Post number implies Trump could pretty much get them all. Now, I mentioned in previous videos how self-deportation is where the action is. America's had 3 mass deportations in the 20th century under Wilson, FDR, and Eisenhower. In all 3 cases, voluntary deportations swamp official ones. For FDR and Eisenhower, is about 10 to 1. So these studies of 5 to 10 self-deportations for every ICE deportee are pretty much on track. Now, the administration knows this, which is why they've been encouraging self-deportation. The mobile app that Biden used to assembly line 900,000 illegals into America was flipped into a deportation app where illegals can announce their imminent departure in return for getting deprioritized by ICE. This was paired with a number of carrots to go with the deportation stick. So illegals now get cost-free travel home, a $1,000 exit bonus, and forgiveness of fines that otherwise accrue at $998 per day of illegal residence, along with a promise that self-deportations can apply for future legal re-entry compared to forced deportation where you get a lifetime ban. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. While free flights are a nice touch, the biggest driver of self-deportations is cutting off the money. That means aggressively going after employers who knowingly employ illegals, which is already illegal but unenforced, and yes, that includes hotels and farmers. It also means cutting off the flood of government benefits that go to illegals. One study pegs these at $182 billion a year, 6 times what illegals pay in taxes. And it's not just federal. In California, New York, and Hawaii, they get free health care and even cash assistance that Americans don't get. Trump's already going after these in a series of executive orders, and DOJ has made it a lot easier to identify illegal benefits. The left, of course, will litigate every step because at this point, their only hope is replacing American voters with illegals they hope to eventually amnesty into a permanent blue bloc. Happily, for now at least, they are losing. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
Again, folks, Peter St. Onge. You can always check him out at Prof, P-R-O-F, Prof St. Onge, S-T-O-N-G-E, profsaintonge.com. Always appreciate that guy's insights, and good to see the breakdown from something we were mentioning just the other day. Again, that's 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation, 334-272-9228. Coming up, we have been not playing a lot of what Democrats have been saying, mostly because it's miserable. They're very lost right now. They're very lost in the woods. Maybe they'll make a comeback. You never want to put down the Democratic Party. They've, accomplished a lot. I think it's the longest lasting party in politics around the world. So, don't underestimate them. But for the time being, they seem very, very lost indeed. They lack leadership, I think, is the main issue here. So we're going to hear from a few folks, actually a couple of ladies, that are looking to lead the party. One is named Jasmine Crockett. And as much as some people are making fun of her getup, her outfit, I kind of like it. It's funky in a good way. And then the other is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC's got a hot take on how we're going to rein in the media. Huh? I thought we believed in, freedom. No? We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Since 1966, Alabama Sheriff's Youth Ranches has been more than just a place to stay. It's been a place to belong. For children facing hardships through no fault of their own, our ranches provide more than shelter. We offer a warm home, a loving family, and a future filled with hope. With open arms, we welcome these young hearts, giving them the love, structure, and guidance they need to heal, grow, and thrive in a warm Christian environment. Together, we can give Alabama's children the chance they deserve, a chance to dream, to succeed, and to feel truly cherished. Every donation stays within Alabama, directly impacting the lives of the children who need it most. Join us in making a difference. Visit alabamasheriffsyouthranches.org. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and download our app from your app store. We'd be honored to have you as a part of our mission to lift up Alabama's youth. And remember this, it's easier to build boys and girls than to repair men and women.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Here at Adams Drugs, we let our customers do the talking. I'm here with Ronnie Taunton, who was a longtime customer of Adams Drugs, moved away for 3 years, and came back to town recently. Ronnie, what did you do for another pharmacy when you moved out of town?
When we moved to Fairhope, we were looking for a local. We did not want to go to a big box store. And we did find one, but the service was not up to par. Adams Drug really spoiled us.
What was it like to come back to Adams Drugs again?
It was very easy. We picked up the phone when we got back, came up to Prattville and called the branch there in Prattville, and they took that phone call and did the rest of it. We didn't have to do a thing. It was very simple. We're glad to be back with them. They're so efficient and customer service oriented.
Come in to any of our 12 Adams Drugs locations. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net to find the location nearest you. Adams Drugs is your independently owned Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Weather, a service of H&H Carpets, where right now, get a load of this, listen close, you got a house full of carpet for $19.95 installed. Unbelievable. They're located at 6450 Atlanta Highway, just across from Walmart.
Rich Thomas weather.
Hi, everybody. Another hot and humid forecast with a high today, 90 to 92, I would say. And that'll be fuel for the fire for a complex of storms that'll be moving into central Alabama this afternoon and into South Alabama early this evening. Some of the storms could be strong, possibly severe, with damaging wind gusts possible. Today's high up to about 92. Tonight's low in the low to mid 70s. Then for tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, as summer begins, hotter days with highs in the low to mid 90s. There will be fewer storms. They will be widely scattered, and the heat index will be close to the 105 danger range over the weekend. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. Since we began in 1906, at CB&S Bank, we're here for you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy. Death to America, except for Joey.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Now, yesterday we played a little bit of Senator Katie Britt, and this will set up our conversation about Jasmine Crockett, and we'll get into AOC. But we played Katie Britt talking to Jake Tapper on CNN, and mostly it was focused on the Israel-Iran thing and what decision the president might make, where the senator stands. She's backing the president. Not surprisingly. I mean, I would. But the actual point I think they wanted out of the interview was this hearing held yesterday in the United States Senate about Joe Biden's mental acuity, or how Mr. Poopy Pants had lost his mind and capability to make sound decisions, and so who was actually controlling the auto pen? So here's a little bit of Senator Britt yesterday laying that out.
Senior staff. So I have been a senior staff member. You take an oath when you get to come and work in this body. You know, you want to make sure you're doing what's best for the United States of America, for the state you serve, all of the things. Is there any way to hold senior staff accountable for either helping to cover up and or moving people to the side? Because it is clear that there are people within this administration that saw that, and they should be sitting in front of us today answering the question of why they turned their back on America, because that's exactly what they did. And so whether it's secretaries, whether it's people in the administration, or whether it is senior staff, we deserve some accountability and we deserve some answers. And then my last question will be for Mr. Spicer, Legacy Media. How in the world do we hold them accountable? If all of us on the outside can see it and we are saying, get to the bottom of this, but yet they refuse, what mechanisms should we put in place to be able to hold them accountable for not actually following what is clearly in front of them?
Senator, you're asking the right question. When it comes to accountability, it can't.
Oh, it's Sean Spicer, the first press secretary for Trump. Mr. Spicy, what's up, man? What do you mean holding corporate media accountable? How about we just stop watching them? That might be a solution. What does Spicy got to say?
Can't be overstated. When the Biden White House stripped 440 White House hard passes from independent journalists, they were attempting to control the narrative, to make sure that no one who wanted to hold them accountable was silenced. Part of what I think this administration has done so well is bringing in new voices, people from disparate backgrounds of all sorts, to ask the White House press secretary, to ask the senior staff, and to be able to hold them accountable. Part of it is allowing other voices in the media. We've seen what the legacy media did, but that's why I think the growth of independent media is so healthy for our democracy, and we need more of it, not less.
So my main takeaway from this so far is, number one, how do you hold these media people accountable for covering up Joe Biden's decline? The answer, at least from Spicy there, Sean Spicer, was you just include more voices. You give more access. You don't have to cut off NBC or CNN or anybody. You just let more people. Like we just played some of the press conference earlier. The lovely woman who reports for the Daily Wire was there, for instance. Like you see more and more folks actually engaging. That's the first one. But then the other is, where were the senior staffers, as you're the senator laying out? Where were these people that were hiding the ball, so to speak, and limiting the amount of voices who could actually cover the White House, who could cover Biden day to day? That brings us to the messaging being put out by the Democrats. First, we'll start with Jasmine Crockett. Some people are calling her pointy shoulder Crockett because of the get-up. And I have to say, those are some pointy shoulders on that jacket. That's a lot of padding in there, girl. But I kind of like it. I guess it's cool to me. Here, let me pull that up on the stream here so everybody can get a glimpse of what I'm talking about. See what I'm talking about? That is a puffy, pointy shoulder jacket, but I think it plays. But I could pull something like that off. Maybe. Anyway, let's listen in to Jasmine Crockett. You just heard Senator Britt talking about senior staffers who weren't even there yesterday. The Democrats boycotted that hearing yesterday. Though it is plain as day, Mr. Poopy Pants, the former president, Joe Biden, was declining rapidly. And yet, what's Jasmine Crockett's message she wants to put out there?
The president. I never saw anything in Joe Biden that made me wonder whatsoever. And it's not that I was with Joe Biden every single day, that's for sure.
Right.
But as I talked about my grandparents, the way that I would describe Joe is like, I mean, he's a granddaddy, right? And so like, you know, the way that my granny was when she was younger versus ultimately kind of where she was at 81 when she ended up passing away. Mentally, she was still there, but like her attitude about certain things, like whether or not she was looking to be as polished or cared to be as polished, or even if she moved as fast, it just wasn't there. We all slow down.
Could Granny actually finish her sentences? And I get what Jasmine's doing here. I get what Congresswoman Crockett is doing. She's appealing to, you all know old people. You got grandparents. You got a granddaddy. You got a granny. On my dad's side, I called them Granny and Granddaddy. Some of my cousins call them Granddaddy. On my mother's side, in fact, the grandfather I'm living with right now, I call him Ma and Pa. Simple enough. Easy to learn when you're young. And I haven't really broken that habit. It will always be Ma and Pa on that side of the family. So we all know old people. We got grandparents. In fact, I think my generation, the millennial generation, is truly blessed. In fact, hashtag blessed. To have known our grandparents the way we have. As you just heard me earlier, I've known my great-grandparents for a time. So I get what Congresswoman Crockett is doing. I get what Jasmine is throwing down here. She's playing on your empathy and your sympathy. People slow down. We all know this. But you know what? My favorite fact about, say, living with my grandfather and knowing my grandparents and knowing some of the callers to this show and listeners, my elders, so to speak, is the number one cohort that questions the mental acuity of old people. You guessed it. Old people. It's so much fun. Because I do keep in mind, I'm a whippersnapper. I'm only like in my mid-30s. Like, who am I to question the mental stability and acuity of, an old man? But when you rely on the other old people to say, yeah, I'm bad. I'm a little slowed down. I don't care about being as graceful and as slick as I once did when I was younger. But, it's one thing to slow down. That guy can't even finish a frickin' sentence. And he's pooping his pants in front of the Pope. So you can appeal to, like, we all have grandparents, Jasmine, but a lot of the grandparents and, say, older folks I know, Joe Biden was pretty kaput from at least the head down. Let's hear her out, though.
But I will tell you that I will take a broken, or however they want to describe Joe Biden, over Donald Trump any given day.
Any day.
Because number one, I know Joe Biden's heart. And I can tell you that when you look at the legislation that he was able to push forward with, this wasn't legislation that was about him and his rich friends. It was legislation that was for the good of the American people. And when you look at the people that he surrounded himself with, even if you're saying that there was a mentally deficient Joe Biden, I know that he absolutely had a mental acuity that is supreme when it comes to comparing him to Donald Trump. Because at least he kept good people around him. He kept people that would keep us safe in this country. He kept people that would make sure that even as tensions were rising all around the world, that we were keeping those tempered. He was able to understand with his level of mental acuity who our friends were. He was not getting us into unwarranted tariff wars and things like that. So even if we want to say, which I refuse to accept, that Joe Biden was mentally deficient, let me tell you something. His mental deficiency is still 1,000 times better than what we currently have. And so, I just wish that ultimately this country would judge each of our leaders with the same measuring stick. We do not. There was a lot of pressure that was put on Joe Biden. There were a lot of criticisms that were lodged at him as well as Kamala Harris.
But none at Trump. Weak. Weight room, woman. Weight room. I know you called Marjorie Taylor Greene bad butch body, but you know what? There ain't nothing wrong with a bad butch body, especially because it's making more people watch the NBA. Those bad butch bodies wailing at each other, gouging eyes out. I hate women's basketball, and I'm watching that. So maybe you need to get in the weight room, especially with your arguments. Joe Biden wasn't mentally deficient, and even if he was, still better than Trump. Okay, that plays to certain folks. That's not playing the vast majority of people. Like, y'all keep defending Joe Biden. Brilliant. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. Y'all keep defending Kamala Harris. I mean, it's just, what a bold strategy. We'll see how it works out. Here's Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Crockett, defending Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Light years ahead of Donald Trump as it relates to qualifications, as it relates to her overall resume, and as it relates to the fact that she was a lot younger. Everybody said that they wanted to get rid of Joe Biden because he was too old.
Right.
Then you had a younger, qualified, non-felon candidate, and somehow the people still chose the old white man.
These are your up-and-coming leaders, Democrats? Really? But it's not just Jasmine Crockett. You also have AOC. So we talked about, with Senator Britt, the senior staffers, and it's funny how Jasmine Crockett leans on that. Well, he put such good people around him. So he's just sort of a ceremonial president, like the King of England isn't actually king? Now, it seems like those senior staffers were getting away with stuff. But the other part of what Senator Britt was talking about is how all the corporate media were complicit in the cover-up. You know, this big apology tour, like this self-flagellation that Jake Tapper's doing on every freaking news broadcast and podcast out there. It's not convincing anybody who saw through this years ago. You had people predicting this all over the place years ago. It's a big part of why y'all lost, because he crapped his pants, metaphorically, I suppose, crapped the bed on the debate stage. All of a sudden, y'all do the whole switcheroo. Let's go to Kamala Harris. And the corporate press was complicit in that cover-up. And in fact, when the whole switcheroo happened, like, you started to see the knives come out from CNN and the rest of the corporate media. Oh, Joe Biden just really, he laid an egg tonight and yada, yada, yada. And we got to figure out something. It's like, guys, he's done this on national TV before. It wasn't just that debate. So what was the answer that Spicy Spicer gave to Senator Britt? That, oh, yeah, you bring in more voices. If you want to find out what's happening day to day at the White House and the president, or about anything, really, you bring in more voices. You bring in more perspectives. You expand how many people get to join the so-called conversation of our politics and our discourse. Well, here AOC has a little different take on that. I don't know if this is some Q&A on social media or something, but I'm paying attention in that sweater. Let's listen in. What's her take on the whole, what do we do about the media thing?
You know, I do think that several members of Congress in some of my discussions have brought up media literacy, because that is a part of what happened here. We're going to have to figure out how we rein in our media environment so that you can't just spew disinformation and misinformation.
Right, because you never have done that, woman.
It's one thing to have differing opinions, but it's another thing entirely to just say things that are false. And so that's something that we're looking into.
Freedom of speech protects false things. You do have the whole slander and libel standards. If somebody's doing it with actual malice, all right. But there was a pretty damn good Supreme Court case that came out of all places, Montgomery, Alabama, during the Civil Rights era, early post-war era. What is it, New York Times v. Sullivan? Sullivan was, I think, the police chief here. I think it's a pretty good standard. But what we really need to do is educate people more and rein this in, because you can't just spout things that aren't true. Isn't half of what we talk about in politics trying to figure out what's true? So if you don't know what's true beforehand, and that's what drives me up a wall. Everybody acting like I know the God's honest truth before anybody even opens their freaking mouth about something controversial. Or maybe in a free nation where speech is protected, you're allowed to have it out and say a bunch of things. I think you're full of crap, AOC. I think you constantly spew stuff you know to be untrue. But I don't want to take that right from you. It's a complete, they still haven't learned. They haven't learned a damn thing. One side says expand the conversation, bring more voices into the conversation. The other says limit it, rein it in, and make sure people are like media literate. Again, these are supposedly the future leaders of the Democratic Party. Honestly, AOC, the only way you're going to shut me up is if you smother me.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, But whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Hey, this is David Little from Tucker Pecan Company. We've been advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting for over 10 years now, and the results have been amazing. Every day we have new customers that come in that have heard us on all the different radio stations that we advertise on. If you want to help your business grow, the best way to do it is through radio advertising through Blue Water Broadcasting. They do a great job in promoting our business and helping us grow our business, and hopefully they can help you grow your business too.
Our advertisers are our biggest advocates. Call us to find out how radio can increase your bottom line. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
No one wants to wait on service for an overhead door. With 20 years in the industry, you now have access to the best with All Access Overhead Door. All Access Overhead Doors offers prompt professional service at affordable prices on all service and new garage doors for residential and commercial locations. All Access Overhead Door serves the river region and can take care of whatever you need when it comes to your overhead door. Remember, you have access to the best. All Access Overhead Door. Call and schedule an appointment today. 320-2440. And like them on Facebook. They sell the best and service the rest.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The premier place the river region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Great. How you guys doing today?
It's just me, but I'm doing all right.
I've been stuck in the store all day long, except for I did take Angie to lunch, and now I need to take a nap. I don't know how people eat lunch. It makes me so tired.
I don't eat lunch either. I know what you're talking about.
Man, there was this one time years ago, we had these old displays that would fold back and forth. And I said, man, I am tired. I'm going to go over here and take a nap. And I went and laid down on the underneath the display.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was out in like 2 seconds, right? I don't know how long I was asleep, but the jerks in the store at the time, one would be my sister. Well, she works here, Donna. A customer comes in and they don't say a word. And the poor little lady's flipping through the displays. And when she flips down and I open my eyes up and I go, ah, and she screamed bloody murder. I don't think we ever sold her anything, come think of it. That was a really good nap.
Oh, by the way, did you see the guy who looked like he fell asleep in like the backhoe or whatever they were using to dig up for the new flagpoles of the White House lawn? Trump's taking photos with all the construction workers, and this one guy is just asleep in the cab. You can tell he's just laid back.
I'll definitely Google that when we get up there. But if y'all need a floor, come to Prattville Carpet. We're not going to put you to sleep, but you will sleep easy at night knowing that you did come to Prattville Carpet. You got the best deal around. You get the best service, the best installation, all the way through the sale and afterwards. Call us at 285-8117. And don't forget, we are still giving out for the first 30 people a $50 gift card to Longhorn. If you will tag a before and after picture on our Facebook page and let us put it on our Facebook page.
Folks, y'all get in touch with them. Definitely those before and after pictures, because that's some good eating. And of course, you can always call them direct to 285-8117. When you call them at 285-8117, be sure to say, hey, I heard Ray Bowles on the radio talking about napping with that Joey Clark fella.
Guys, it's just Joey. You have a great day.
Appreciate it, Ray. So did we learn anything today? Well, nothing crazy. Nothing too earth-shattering. I kept teasing this whole idea that ChatGPT and stuff is making people nuts. One guy trying to marry a chatbot. Maybe I'll save that for tomorrow with the crew. Hopefully both Eddie and Craig will be here and we can all react to this nonsense going on with how certain people are interacting with AI. And I really do think it's just a weak mind or spirit or whatever. If you're falling in love with a disembodied voice. Anyway. Before I forget, this part of the program brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. Remember, you need to get by there before the sale is over and done with. Yes, Leslie Ryder's big 50th birthday is coming up, so they're doing 50% off on half the store there at Dillon Rings. Some amazing items, beautiful pieces of jewelry, half off. So get by there, 119 Brown Springs Road, if you want to see all that stuff in inventory that's half off. But of course, they're at Dillon Rings. They're a full-service jewelry shop. Maybe you've got some old jewelry laying around. You'd like to sell to them direct. They're buying gold. They're buying silver. They're buying platinum. Maybe it's stuff that's broken you hadn't thought about in years, just sitting in the drawer there. Why not take it by Dillon Rings? They can check it out for you. They'll do appraisals. They can do repairs, including watch repairs, as well as battery replacements on watches. Could do spa treatments to make that jewelry you always wear. You wear every day, shine and shimmer like it's brand new all over again. And of course, don't forget the custom design work, second to none, made by Josh. Josh Ryder, the man is a true artist when it comes to what he can do with jewelry. So y'all check him out today. Again, that's 119 Brown Springs Road here in Montgomery. Just stop by. And by the way, be sure to wish Leslie an early happy birthday and tell him that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you. Has Trump made a decision yet? Is the 2-week window actually just a few hours? Or that's the news that came out today. The White House saying we're going to wait about 2 weeks to make a decision on Iran. Could be a feint. Who knows? But I think that is a good sign. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, Joey, it's Woody. How you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
We'll see.
I only said that once today, sir.
I'm going to buy you a T-shirt that says, we'll see.
Well, what I change it to is we're waiting and watching and wondering what we might witness.
Yeah, I heard you. All right. Enjoy the show, brother.
Appreciate it, Woody. Hey, by the way, well, he already left. They've been doing some estate sale in like edge of County Downs, Bellhurst, and it's been blocking the damn road. My way out to Perry Hill. I don't know, like, is that what happens? Like, you die and then your stuff is just sold off? So you can't take it with you. Let's see who this is. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, don't forget what your predecessor always said. We will know in the fullness of time.
Indeed. Indeed, we will.
You should bring that one back.
Appreciate it, man.
Later.
Indeed, we will know in the fullness of time, as the good book says. How about this? I'm going to get out of here. Happy hour with Greg Beadle and Pamela. They're next. Y'all stay tuned.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. The State Department has begun evacuating non-essential diplomats and their families from the U.S. Embassy in Israel. The evacuations come as hostilities between Israel and Iran intensify, and President Trump warns of the possibility of getting directly involved in the conflict. Celebrations are planned around the country to commemorate the Juneteenth holiday, marking the day in 1865, when Union soldiers brought the news of freedom to enslaved black people in Texas. President Trump has signed an executive order to keep TikTok running in the U.S. for another 90 days to give his administration more time to broker a deal to bring the social media platform under American ownership. It's the third time the president has extended the deadline, the first one